This meeting is called to order. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the City of Boynton Beach Community Redevelopment Agency Board Meeting. Today is Tuesday, September 13th, 2022, and the time is now 6:06 p.m. Let's begin first with an invocation by Board Member Hay, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Turkin, and then we'll proceed with the roll call. Let's all stand for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Father God, we thank you for this day and this opportunity to serve. We'd like to take this time to thank all of our first responders of 9/11, some 21 years ago. We also like to thank all of our veterans, especially our board member Turkins. Thank you for your services, and to all of our members of the armed services. We meet this afternoon to serve our community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognize our responsibility to the past and the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and our great community of Boynton Beach. As trusted servants here in on the CRA board, we seek blessings on our deliberations and in our efforts that we have today, and to make wise decisions and good decisions. Bless each member of this board, the CRA board, and our tremendous staff. Lord, we'll be so careful to give you all the honor and all the praise. For in your Savior's name we pray. Let every heart say amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, Ms. Cherry.
Chairman Ty Pensurga.
Present.
Vice Chair Angela Cruz.
Present virtually.
Board Member Amy Kelly.
Here.
Board Member Thomas Turkin.
Present.
Board Member Woodrow Hay.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Before we move on to agenda approval, I do want to remind everybody the rules of decorum. Number one, board members must first be recognized by the chair and not interrupt a speaker. Public comments must be addressed to the board as a whole and not to any individual on the dais or in the audience. Displays or acts of personal insults, rudeness are strictly prohibited, and any disruptive behaviors from the audience are likewise strictly prohibited. Let's move on to agenda approval. And for this evening's agenda, I would like to make a series of reorganizations. And the purpose of these reorganizations is to group like items together so we handle that item simultaneously, if that's all right with the board. I was also informed from staff that item 14D is no longer an option. Is that correct, Executive Director? It is 14D. So I'm going to ask that we remove item 14D from this evening's agenda. And in terms of reorganization, so for example, 13C and D both deal with the Wells Landing apartments. And so I'd like to request that we, after D, move up 14A. That's also related to the MLK project. Moving up 14A, as well as 16B, immediately following 13C and D. This way, all items pertaining to MLK and the Wells Landing projects are dealt upon on that time.
Chair, if I may also, 15C, even though it's just a staff update, it's also.
You want to do that? Yeah, that's fine with me. Let's include 15C. Okay, so again, for clarity, after 13C and D, we're going to have 14A, 16B, and then 15C, all items pertaining to the same topic. Next to that, I'm going to pause for a moment. After that, I'd recommend that we also move 14C right after 13G, both of which are items pertaining to lease extensions within the same building. So let's handle that together. If we look at 13H, this is the item pertaining to the conference. Related to that, we will need to address possible changes to our schedule of meetings. So I'd like to recommend that we move 14E right after 13H. So we'll discuss the conference and then any scheduling changes that would come out as a result of that. And I believe that is it for me. That should hopefully make the meeting go a little bit more efficiently. Are there any other additions, deletions, or reorganizations from my colleagues? Commissioner Kelly?
I just had one. I would like to, I know it's on future agenda items, but I would like to get a true update from the police department as far as when the NOP program is going to come back. They said they hoped it to be September, October. So I just maybe assign a date to that future agenda item that we would like an update in October as far as when that's going to happen.
Excellent.
Um,
So we'll add that under future agenda, update on NOP program.
Right, and then also correct me if I'm wrong, but the 16C, which is the assignment to the CRA that's on future agenda items, should that be moved to new business? That's the email and that needs to happen in October, right? So we need to address that tonight.
Yes, so under the pending assignments, I will request that. That's just to make sure that you know that October, if you approve the assignment, that it'll go in October's meeting as well as the NOP update. So we'll put the actual meeting
Okay.
dates on there. So yes.
So we're going to talk about 16C on 10A. Is
Yes.
what you're saying? Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Board Member Kelly. Anything else from my colleagues? All right, seeing none. And Vice Chair Cruz, I want to make sure I hear your input. Did you have any recommendations?
No amendments for me, thank you.
All right, sounds good. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
So move.
We have a
Second.
motion from Commissioner Board Member Turkin. We have a second from Board Member Kelly. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The motion passes unanimously. The agenda is amended. We're now going to move on to legal. Ms. Rosmel?
Good evening, everyone. Catherine Rossmel from the law firm of Lewis, Longman and Walker. Just a brief update that will be of no surprise to any of you up here. The city of Boynton Beach recently retained our law firm to work on discrete matters related to the Town Square project. And as we discussed at the city meeting, should there ever be a potential conflict or a conflict in that matter, we would seek the appropriate waivers and, if necessary, withdraw from representation of the city and continue with representation of the CRA. At this time, there is no conflict, so this is just for your information in this setting. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question. Is this just for the Times Square project, or is this going to be permanent?
No, sir, this is just for a specific project.
Good. I mean, not I didn't. I didn't mean it that way.
I understand. No.
No,
it's taken.
we just, in the past, we've had a conflict with single represent legal for CRA and the city. And I just want to make sure we don't get there again.
Yes, sir, this engagement was not for that. It is just for the specific matter.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, board member. We're going to move on to informational items and disclosures by board members and CRA staff, disclosure of conflicts, contacts, and relationships for items presented on the agenda. Board member Hay, would you like to begin? And we'll go around the dais.
I do not have any disclosures at this time.
All right. Vice Chair Cruz, any disclosures?
I have no disclosures at this time.
All right. As for myself, regarding 14A, this is the item involving the tenants or potential tenants into the Wells Landing project. I had conversations with Dr. Cleckley and several other tenants. And that is it for me. Board Member Turkin.
I have nothing at this time.
Board Member Kelly.
I have nothing. No disclosures at this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving on to announcements and awards. The 2022 Florida Festivals and Events Association Sensational Awards. Take it away.
Good evening, Board. Renee Rosario, Social Media and Communications Specialist. The Florida Festivals and Events Association recently announced the winners of its annual Sensational Awards during their 28th annual convention and trade show. The program recognizes members' innovation, individuality, and creative collaboration. Nominations were accepted in 8 various categories, and a total of 500 entries were submitted from throughout the state. Staff is thrilled to share that the Boynton Beach CRA was awarded 6 awards, including first place for the annual report, first place for Pirate Fest street banners, first place for Pirate Fest promotional item, second place for community engagement response to the pandemic through the Rock the Block event, and third place for the Pirate Fest event guide and photo. Do you have any questions?
Wow.
Congratulations.
That is,
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you
That's
very much.
fantastic. That deserves a hand clap. That really does. Okay. Keep up the good work. That's great.
All right, thank you. Is there anything else to add, Executive Director?
Just want to thank Mercedes also. She's unable to attend, but I'm sure her heart's with us, but she's at home, not feeling well, so.
All right, well, I hope she feels better. Thank you so much. We're going to move on to public comments. These are public comments on items not on the agenda. As always, you have 3 minutes per person. We're going to begin with those in person here in the chambers. And after everyone has spoken in the chambers, that is also the end of the period for which those online can raise their digital hands. If you are online, we will let you know when you have 30 seconds remaining on the clock. And for whatever reason there are any technical issues, we will try to circle back to you. And that is it. All right, let's begin with in-person public comments. If you would like to speak, now is the time to approach the podium. And where's my timer? All right, is there anybody who would like to speak for public comments?
Hi, Ernest McNulty, Ernest George McNulty, it's my legal name. And my legal address is 710 Northeast 7th Street, Boynton Beach, Unit 407, it's a condo, Harbor Hall Inlet Club 1, and Harbor Inlet 2 is my neighbor. So relative to comments about the CRA, the CRA all over Boynton Beach is involved with properties that are older properties. And usually what happens is the CRA starts like with homeowners associations and with their lawyers and engineers, and they start to target properties that maybe they could let get run down enough so that somehow they could, the CRA could buy them out, and then they get into all this legal stuff. And next thing you know, the people have to move out, they get a price for their unit. But the bottom line is the CRA wants the buildings because, like my building has a 43-year-old 8-story permit. So wouldn't that be great for CRA to get the 2 buildings, be able to tear down my buildings and put up 2 8-story high-rise? Wouldn't that be great? And that's what's going on. You see what I mean? So I'm involved as a homeowner, trying everything I can to protect my home. I love this home, but I can't get any help. And the worst of, look, here's my district guy half asleep. And the worst is the fact that today, for example, I called about fire hazards, building hazards, police hazards, health and safety hazards, everything, right? I made a report, right? The city won't send anybody out. We're getting flooding now with king tide. Now for 3 years, the magistrate here ordered Harbor Hall Inlet 2 to fix the whole bulkhead and seawall to help prevent the flooding. It floods now all the time, all year long. Now we're in king tide. It's flooding. It's shorting out all the electric in the ground, all the docks. It's shorting out our building with electric. We've had fires now that often start with shorting out of water in high power lines that goes into the power room that starts a fire. We've had the power room almost burned down in our building, right? The elevator room is very dangerous with electrical and fire hazards. So is the elevator. And now we find out that That's all the time I have left. So now every unit, air conditioning in my building is a fire hazard. There's no permits, and they let me buy it, telling me there was a permit, and now they won't do anything with all the fire hazards. And now I got to spend $10,000 to replace it tomorrow because you all put a violation on my door.
All right, any other in-person public speakers? Seeing none, we're going to move on to virtual public comments. Ms. Kerfman, how many do we have online?
There are no hands raised.
All right, thank you. That means all public comments have now concluded. We're going to move on to the next item. Item 10, CRA Advisory Board, pending assignments. Executive Director, would you like to introduce that item?
Yes, Board Chair, that item, the CRAB board, the advisory board is diligently working on that and will be coming back to the board at their November 8th CRA board meeting to present. The assignment was to look at different ways to promote the eligible events, the business promotion events that the CRA holds, as well as come up with the other ways of outreach to the community and promote the marina. So that was the assignment. We did receive a request from the Parks and Recreation Director to present their ongoing public input efforts for the Parks Master Plan at the CRAB meeting coming up on October 6th, right, Vicki? And that would require the CRA board to assign that to the CRAB board. And then also I'd like to request if the CRA board would like to also have the presentation for those that do come to our board meetings of the Parks Master Plan at the October CRA board meeting. So if you'd like to see that, we can request that presentation be made as well.
All right, so first and foremost, let's get consensus from the board if we are comfortable adding that presentation as an item for the advisory board, the Parks Master Plan. Is everyone comfortable with that?
In November.
In October
October
6th.
6th.
Their next meeting is October 6th.
Sure.
All right, I'm seeing
Yes.
head nods, I'm hearing yeses, so we're going to add that as their next assignment. And Executive Director, the second item I heard was if they could present here. Is that the request?
You've already directed us to relay the information. The second one is to ask you as the CRA board if you'd like to see the master plan presentation for your
Right.
October meeting.
That's
Yes,
my
yes.
intention. I personally have seen it. I've been to those events, but I'm more than happy to hear it again. It's good for more people to hear that. Would the rest of my colleagues like to hear it in this board setting?
I would like to hear it.
Yes.
Okay,
In this chamber.
sounds good. Let's schedule that. Ms. Shutt, and thank you. All right. And I do have a question. Who from the advisory board will there be a person coming to present their recommendations in terms of the marketing and all of that? Or is it a written report?
Yes, they've elected Mr. Joe Josman. He will be the representative that will speak on behalf of the CRAB board to present the result
All
of
right.
their findings or their research.
Good, excellent to hear that. Is there any other comments from my colleagues before we move on? Seeing none, we're going to move on to 11, consent agenda. There are 2 items there. Are any of those items you want to pull? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Board Member Hay, second from Board Member Kelly. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The motion passes. Moving on to old business. The first one is 13A, discussion and consideration of PBSO and the fuel discount for the Boynton Harbor Marina. Now, this was previously tabled, so the first item is to have this removed from the table. May I have a motion to remove from the table?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. This item has been removed from the table. All right, let's begin with this item.
I'd like to make a motion just to eliminate this item. I don't think we should be giving discounts outside of our local police department.
I do agree with that. We don't need to get into that business.
No.
I think we'll be open up a bag of worms.
Yeah.
So we just need to stay away from that.
Yep, I agree. Next,
So-
FWC and everyone else is going to come ask for a discount.
If we're in order, Board Chair, I would like to second his motion.
All right, the motion being to remove item 13A from the agenda.
Board Chair,
I was going to ask you, CRA attorney, if it was necessary to make that motion or simply take no action.
I think that your option is to not approve the requested discount.
Okay, so that's how the motion should be worded.
Yes, it's option number 2 in the
Okay.
staff report. Do not approve the PBSO discount for the fuel at the marina.
that's fine. You may either make a motion or it may die for lack of a motion, however you choose to handle it.
That's fine. We already have a motion. Would you like to amend your motion?
Will that work? What would I say?
You can, instead of removing it from the agenda, perhaps you could make the motion to not approve the sheriff's
Well,
request.
I'd like to make a motion to not approve this item.
Okay, we have a
Second
motion
that motion.
and we have a second. The motion is to not approve this request. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The motion passes. And this item is not approved. Moving on to 13B, discussion and consideration of a draft RFP/RFQ for the CRA-owned property located at 401-411 East Boynton Beach Boulevard.
This item will be handled by Mr. Tim Tack, our Assistant Director.
All right,
Good
Mr.
evening.
Tack.
Good evening, Board. The CRA Board directed staff to draft a request for proposal, request for qualifications in accordance with the letter of intent from the United States Post Office for the creation of a new retail post office at 401-411 Boynton Beach Boulevard properties. At your last board meeting, the CRA Board approved a motion to publish the draft RFP/RFQ as presented, which established the standard requirements, evaluation criteria, as well as a proposed schedule for the RFP/RFQ. The final draft of the RFP/RFQ has been provided to you for your review. The only change from as it was presented last time is it has been updated to provide revised drawings that include additional building shell requirements the developers may be able to use as guidelines for the proposal. We may have a representative from the USPS here to talk if you have any questions. Vicky, is Mr. Hancock online?
Yes, this is Rick Hancock with the Postal Service. I'm online for any questions.
Excellent. Welcome, Mr. Hancock. Do any of my colleagues have any questions at this time? All right, seeing none. Are there any final comments from my colleagues? I'm comfortable with the item as presented. Is there anything else? If not, may I have a motion to approve this?
Board Chair, would you like
yes.
to entertain public comment?
Yes, if there is public comment. Do we have public comment on this item? Anybody would like to speak? Okay, all right. May I have a motion to approve the RFP/RFQ for the CRA-owned property located at 401-411 Boynton Beach Boulevard and issue subject to USPS and final CRA legal review. We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Hancock, for joining us this evening.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Okay. Now moving on to 13C, semi-annual progress report for the purchase and development agreement with Wells Landing Apartments LLC, doing business as Heart of Boynton Village Apartments. Do we have a representative from them?
Yes, I believe Mr. Sweezy and Mr. Bilton is virtually participating. No. Well, we can do the introduction. Hopefully
Okay.
they would.
Sounds good.
All right. This is the semi-annual progress report for the purchase and development agreement with Wells Landing Apartments, doing business as Heart of Boynton Village Apartments, the residential component. Under the terms of the purchase and development agreement, Centennial Management Corporation, as the developer, is required to submit a semi-annual progress report every 6 months until completion of the construction. As a part of that report, they're to provide a summary of the project with photo documentation, provide documents demonstrating reasonable efforts to employ local contractors, subcontractors, Boynton Beach residents, as well as Heart of Boynton Beach district residents. They're to provide evidence, notification for job training and job placement opportunities, and documentation of pay or cause to be paid new hires for operations and property management positions at a minimum of a living wage for Palm Beach County. And what's been attached is that semi-annual report containing those documents.
Thank you. Well, we don't have the representatives. I really want to ask them a few questions, but I know that the documentation has been provided and is attached to the agenda.
Are they online?
I'm trying to reach out to them now. They
Okay.
they indicated to us that they'll be participating virtually, but we can also just go through just the update of the progress of the construction if you'd like, just
That
so
would
that
be
you're familiar
15th.
with the site.
Let's handle 15C now. Okay. This is the overall update. And then we'll circle back to C and D of 13 if they arrive.
So you want to take a look at the construction of the project, the progress update?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so the MLK Junior Corridor Commercial Redevelopment and Affordable Multifamily Rental Apartment Project is 100. Will be providing 124 multifamily rental units as well as 8,250 square feet of leasable commercial space. Since the last meeting, you can see the pictures up there of the construction in the progress. You're looking at the east building, looking north towards MLK. You can see that the fourth floor is constructed and the concrete block is being installed. If you want to go to the next picture. It gives you a little more zoomed in picture of what's going on there. The guys working on there on the fourth floor. Next picture. And there you can see from across MLK, looking south towards the building. The next one, Vicki. All right, the west building is the first floor is constructed. Concrete block is being installed. The electrical, water, and sewer has been trenched and stubbed up for future connection. And that's the west building looking from the east. And there you can see the west building looking from the south from MLK. And a little bit closer look, looking south towards the west building. All right, the north building, the roof slab is constructed and the electrical has been stubbed up for future connection. You can see the north building there looking north from MLK Junior Boulevard. We're up a couple stories taking a picture of that. And again, that's looking north towards MLK Junior at the north building.
If I may add, if you look in the first story right there, that's where the commercial space, the ground floor commercial tenant spaces will be. It'll be a nice, gorgeous, it's high ceiling, so you'll see it with lots of windows and light.
So Sierra staff is continuing to coordinate with Centennial Management on the leasing of the commercial spaces that Twee was talking about. And the construction timeline estimates the project will be completed early 2023, and we appear to still be on course for that time frame.
All right, sounds good. They look beautiful. And Board Member Hay?
Yeah, I would like to say that I pass by there just about every day. Just gets me excited. But I want to compliment, I guess it's Centennial or whoever is keeping the grounds. The grounds are just nice and clean. I've seen other sites that I would be afraid to walk on. But I'd like to commend them for keeping the grounds very clear. If you walk those buildings around there, you wouldn't be afraid of stepping on a board, nail, or nothing like that, because they do a great job in keeping it clean. So shout out for them so far.
Excellent. Anything else? Any comments from my colleagues?
Just want to mirror what my colleague said. You know, the more I see, the more I get excited.
Yeah.
You know, it's great progress.
All right, so that will be the conclusion of 15C, the overall update. And while we wait for them, and Executive Director, did they respond back to you?
I've texted both Mr. Bilton and Mr. Sweezy, and I haven't gotten.
All right. If not, it might be necessary to simply just table this item for the next meeting. But before we do that, let's move on with the other related items. We have 14A and then 16B. 14A.
Excuse me.
Yes.
We have Mr.
Oh,
Bilton here,
perfect.
Who might be able
Oh,
to
Mr.
address your
Biltman
question.
just walked in.
It's
Okay.
timing, good
You're
timing.
up.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Biltman.
Come on down.
We are literally on your item. The semi-annual progress report for the purchase and development agreement with Wells Landing Apartments, LLC, DBA Heart of Boynton Village Apartments, followed by the shops. If you could give us an update on that progress, we'd greatly appreciate it.
Paul, we just went through the construction update just to give you some time to come, but we're at the item with the report, the progress report for the residential as well as the retail shops.
I could do that. First, my name is Paul Bilton, and I'm here for Centennial Management. And that sounded like perfect timing. However, Mr. Sweezy is a little bit behind me, and I think if you don't mind, if you can wait a few minutes and maybe skip us until he gets here.
I was fine with that. All right, let's do that.
Okay.
All right,
Thanks a lot.
excellent. We're now going to move on to 14A. 14A, discussion and consideration of additional funding for the commercial spaces within the MLK Junior Boulevard mixed-use development, Wells Landing Apartments, doing business as the Boynton Shops.
And Miss Bonnie Nicklin would do this. She's been working closely with the tenants as for the grants, as well as coordinating to keep them in touch with Mr. Bilton and Centennial Management.
Good evening, board. Bonnie Nicklin, Grants and Project Manager. This item is being brought back before the board as a follow-up to public comments you received at your August 9th meeting. At the meeting, prospective tenants who have been working with the Heart of Boynton Shops shared their concerns of the high cost associated with the build out of each space. To date, there are tentative leases in place for each unit, which totals 8,250 square feet of commercial space. They include a medical care center, 2 restaurants, a hair salon, a professional office, and a space for the neighborhood officer program. Currently, the CRA has a development agreement in place with a project developer to provide $2 million for the reimbursement of eligible expenses for the development of the commercial space. Approximately 1.8 million of the total amount was approved by the CRA board to fill the finance gap for the commercial component of the project. The eligible improvements included for the commercial space are limited to an unfinished gray shell with concrete floors lacking HVAC and left ready for the tenant improvements. The agreement also includes $25,000 for the move-in ready build out of unit number 8 for the NOP office. Of the remaining $187,054, CRA staff anticipates approximately $75,000 of that could be allocated for the NOP build out. Once the developer has completed all portions of the project that are defined under eligible expenses, the developer may seek reimbursement for secondary expenses as defined in the agreement. Secondary expenses can include any mechanical, electrical, or plumbing improvements of the tenant spaces made during the initial build out. At the August meeting, the board also approved the fiscal year 2022-2023 economic development grants, which now include the design fees as an eligible expense. Based on the grant program guidelines and the tentative leases in place, the CRA grant funding available to each tenant is outlined in the agenda cover, but the grand total for each unit would be about $292,000. On August 18th, we also received a cost estimate from RS Construction, and they are the current contractor on site for the build out of 1,000 square foot office use, and that totaled $69,813. This includes an ADA bathroom, flooring, ceiling, HVAC, lighting, plumbing, fire sprinkler system, and 2 small offices with a kitchenette. So this is just to give you a rough cost estimate for what a vanilla shell might cost. If it is the board's will to allocate additional funding for tenant improvements, staff recommends providing funding for the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing improvements. The additional funding would be allocated and administrated through the amendment to the development agreement with Wells Landing Apartments LLC. And if authorized by the developer, the improvements could be completed by the project's contractor, RS Construction. Any allocated funding would be divided equally across the 7 units. Lastly, it should be noted that there may be other funding agreements with the developer's lender that may be affected by the proposed amendment to the development agreement. So at that point, we would, of course, turn to our CRA legal counsel for further advisement. And we are here to answer any questions you may have. And I think some of the businesses are here in person and virtually.
Thank you, Bonnie. This is a very important item. I know we've heard from the tenants, the small business owners who want to be part of this project, and they are experiencing financial difficulties. This project is presented to them, as Ms. Bonnie said, as a gray shell, and that poses a financial barrier for many of these businesses who are not able to afford making these physical improvements in order to prepare this site for their business. And so I'm hoping that my colleagues and that this board will work together to find a solution, to find some funding. And to be clear, I'm not saying, and I've spoken to the tenants, they themselves are not saying that we should foot the bill entirely, right? That they're going to do business loans, they're going to do other sources of funding. But is there anything else that the CRA can do to help them get into these sites? So I just wanted to open this conversation with stating that problem. And I've had extensive conversations with their executive director. Some ideas have been thrown out, and but I don't want to jump ahead. So Tui, I'll just open the floor for you. If you could just give us an update from your end. And thank you, Bonnie.
Yes, as it stands, and you'll be seeing in your fiscal year budget agenda item, aside from the allocation that you could be making under the fiscal year budget allocation, we do have approximately $87,000 that could be utilized for mechanical, electrical, plumbing. If we are just out of the 187,000, like Bonnie had said, we were looking to save that for the NOP office improvement. There's 75,000 for the actual construction based on the estimate of the Nella shell. And then hopefully the remaining will be for contingency and design fees. If there are money left over, which we anticipate about 87,000 of the owner's contingency, that could be utilized, split equally. There's also opportunities for you as you look at the budget to meet those, the needs, the gap that's existing. We also believe that there are other sources, but from the county, if there's a need for that, there's a Section 108 loan that could pay for operation expenses and equipment. We would be glad to help the tenants go through the county, because the county would require leveraging from the local government, which is us. So we can utilize that. And as well as really what we're looking at is the basic air handler unit, the basic ADA bathrooms, anything else, cabinetry, equipment they have to provide, and they know they have to provide.
Of course.
But primarily they're looking for the skeletal, the mechanical units, electrical, the ducts. Plumbing, yes. But Centennial will be providing, though, the lines that are under the slab, and as part of the gray shell, the slab is going to be poured by Centennial. If you remember, all of our other mixed uses, 500 Ocean, 1 Boynton, they have dirt floors. So we know ahead to provide that concrete pour for these tenants, because we don't want them to have to do that. But they can't do it until they have all the tenants and their uses designed. So yes, there are some funding. We're looking, again, approximately 30 to 50,000. If you really are looking for a rough estimate of that, I don't know each of the needs of the tenants, but I can just approximate. That's what we'll probably need. So if you look at that and multiply that by 7, you look at about 270,000 that will be needed. If you equally, help them with 30,000.
You said 270,000 is?
I'm sorry, 210, like 7 times 30, yes.
210 is the goal number.
Yes, that's my very rough estimate of the spaces, that the needs for each of those. Of course, the restaurants may need more, the medical offices may need more, the salon may need more than just your typical office. But it's really your call in terms of where the money can come from. It can be a combination.
So, I agree that we should not be paying for the additional fixtures, right? Because that varies depending on use, whether somebody's an office or somebody is a restaurant. That is on them and their business to handle. But in terms of the basics, the lighting, the electrical, the plumbing, I think that should be handled so somebody can come into the space who may not have additional funds otherwise to come in. Bonnie, from your conversations with these tenants, did they state anything about the funding required? I mean, there's a number that we've just heard, but I'm trying to gauge what is an appropriate number. And I heard 210, but are they saying anything different, or what's the story?
I don't have specific numbers, but I believe, like I said, they're all participating in person or virtually. So if you'd like to ask them, but I don't know of any specific number requests.
All right, sounds good. Do any of my board members want to speak first, or should we move on to public comments, let them speak?
I did have one question, Ms. Shutt, with, you mentioned something about a credit that Centennial would be getting when we met. Can you dive into that?
Yes, sir. That really goes to the future agenda item 16B. It's really, there's two funding allocations that the county is looking to give to the project. I don't have the specifics, but I do know from the county's contact, there'll be 1.5 or 1.499 million that's available in SHIP funds to help these projects, the tax credit projects for the affordable housing, the rental. And there's an impact fee credit that would potentially could be received for the project of $330,000 for the project to help offset whatever cost it is or deferred development costs. I don't have the details on that, but that's really between the county and the developer. So that's the credit that you were probably referring to. But the county would require for us to subordinate their interests because they're giving more than what we are for those different components.
Good evening again, Paul Bilton. I think I can help answer. First of all, the impact fee credit is something that we have applied for and were awarded a long time ago. So that's always been a part of our budget. So it isn't additional funds at this point. The almost 5 million that we are getting in SHIP funds, that is additional funds, but it does not even cover everything we're experiencing in terms of increased financing costs and construction costs. So yes, it was a lifesaver, but it doesn't. It's not cash that we can play with. It's already figured into our sources and uses.
Got it. Thank you.
And we still have a funding shortfall. It's not unusual to have some funding shortfall, and we certainly do have plenty.
Okay, anything else? Otherwise, we'll move on to hearing from the public.
Chair.
Yes, Board Member Kelly.
Ms. Shutt, you mentioned going to the county for these grant funds. Do you have an estimate of what those grants would amount to so that we can kind of have an idea or what kind of difference if the grants are approved, if they get the grants, where are we bridging that gap?
It's actually a loan. It's a
Okay.
Section 108 loan, and it's for everything from acquisition, and eligible expenses could be for operation, so equipment. So again, it would have to be applied by the tenants to the county, but we can use the money that we've invested in this already as a leverage. They require 50% leverage from the local municipality or local government. So we have enough, but it could be as high, depending how much funds are left, it could be as high as $1 million for acquisition. And again, the tenants will have to know what their costs are, whether it's equipment for operational expenses, or just build out. So I would say that the tenant would have to go and proceed with their drawings, or just at least an idea, getting an estimate of whoever they're working with to design the layout. And it's a tenant improvement, so it's not quite as cumbersome as if you were doing a new building on a site. They would get the estimate and they would be able to know what to apply. There is a very good patient capital, as I would call it, to leverage their money out of pocket as well as any loan they get privately from a bank or the lender. So it's a useful tool to use. That's aside from the SHIP dollars. It's aside from our money and the city's money as well.
Okay, thank you. And then the money that we're talking about, the extra potentially $30,000 per unit, that's an addition. This is another, what we're looking at is potentially another 210,000 on top of the 92 that we were already kind of budgeting for. Is that right?
Yes, so that's on top of the grant that you would get for the normal interior improvement. That would include their shelves, their flooring, their lighting, and it's on top of also our design fee, because we realize how much out of pocket each of these tenants will have to be. And those grant programs are across the board. It's for all businesses that come into our area, so it's not just specific to this. But again, the Section 108 is, the reason why it's so reasonable is it's LIBOR plus 1 basis point. So it's a very good tool to have as well.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, no, Chair, I agree that I feel like we need to help these startup businesses. This is something that has been very important to this project, that there's these commercial spaces that are used for and thrive for this development. So I think we can't let it fail, for sure. I just and so I agree, we need to do whatever we can. I would like to see going for every other option too, as far as what other grants or funds are out there, so that maybe we can then make up the difference. But I agree. I think we need to make sure that this is a priority to us, that we help these businesses out and make sure that they thrive. So
Thank you, Board Member. Board Member Hay.
I agree with my colleagues. We definitely need to help where we can. I'd just like to know on this Section 108, what kind of terms are we talking? Is it in terms of payback? What would be their interest rate and all that? I know you may not have that information right now.
It's usually LIBOR plus 1 point. So it's
1 point?
always, yeah. So it's fairly reasonable, and the terms can be longer. That's all I know about it. But I talked to their deputy director of the department of, I think it's HES now, Housing and Environmental Sustainability. So I've talked to Ms. Sherry Howard, and we can have a different conversation with the tenants as well. I would look at exploring equipment paid off by that loan, so that it's, together you could have all the parts and pieces. But I would imagine that we can handle the basic, the brick and mortar components of that. And then maybe they can utilize that for other things that they may need for the improvement that our grant won't pay for.
I definitely agree that, we've come this far. We cannot fail now. So we have to do whatever we can that's reasonable. Okay, let's do it. So I'm all for it, Board Chair.
All right, excellent. And to be clear, the goal here is to find funding for the physical component of the space, the basics.
The basics.
The plumbing, the electrical, and to make sure the floors are cement and not dirt. We want to make this easier for these businesses to come in. So all I've heard so far is that we have about 87,000 from the owner's contingency. So we still have quite a gap to reach. I heard the number 210 is the ideal target number, if I heard you correctly, Executive Director.
Yes, I would just round it up to, if you add that up, it's 297, just 300,000.
Okay.
Between what we have in the current owner's contingency and what can be made up with budget allocation.
Excellent. And, there are parts of this that we can take care of, right, from our own funding sources. But when we hear from the developer today, I'd like to ask them if there's anything more that they could do on their end. Maybe there's something that could be managed, but I'll let them speak on that item. And before we proceed to public comment, just one final item related to this, which is, Ocean Breeze East. If we could talk about Ocean Breeze East for a moment, there is a space there that was previously discussed to be this, how was it worded? This kind of area for a nonprofit to go into.
Well, it's really for not nonprofit. It's a community space.
Community
Originally,
space.
it was supposed to be where the neighborhood office program was. And since then, the former chief felt it was better to be in the MLK retail, right on the MLK, to assist with the mixed use as well as the corridor. So the board had approved for the NOP office to be transferred to this particular site.
Okay.
So that freed up approximately 2,000 square feet of community space that was negotiated as part of Ocean Breeze East. And in that project, in that development agreement, the CRA has committed $65,000 to help build out the space, and Centennial has committed $50,000 to help. But there, in that particular instance, Centennial would have the final say as to who is going to occupy that, because that entity needs to make sure they can meet, the insurance, utilities, all that good stuff. Now, originally, when Centennial had approached the CRA, it was to ask the CRA to, since the NOP office is no longer there, to utilize that space for their own use for the residential development, which means they will be responsible to improve that space because it's going to be for their use. The board didn't approve that. The former board didn't approve that, but that's something you could also ask Mr. Sweezy if he still needs it, that space. And if,
Because if he doesn't,
yes,
then
they could
that
free the
could,
65,000 from the CRA.
we would
and
open the
maybe-
60, exactly. We'd have the 65,000 that we could reallocate. And then Centennial may not use that 50K for that space, but I'll let them speak on that when we
Exactly,
get there.
but it'll require an amendment to that agreement. And
Okay, I just wanted to throw
they're
that out there as something to think about as another funding possibility. Let's leave it at that. All right, so let's go ahead and hear from the tenants and the public. If you would like to speak on this item and you are in the room, please approach the podium. Now is the time to do that. And again, for those online, please keep your digital hands raised. After all the in-person public comments have concluded, that is also the end of the digital hands raised being accepted. All right.
Hello, everyone. I just actually wanted to introduce myself. My name is Sylvia Gillian. I am one of the tenants that's going into the MLK project. My business is Gillian & Co. It's a real estate business / tax business as well. But I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's trying so hard to help us out. And pretty much, I just want to just let you know that I'm so happy to be going over there. And I pray that you guys can do whatever you can to get us there. Thank you, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Bunny, for everything.
All right. She is. Next speaker.
Good evening. My name is John Lejeune, with Dope Vegan. It's a vegan restaurant that we're trying to bring to Heart of Boynton. I just want to thank you guys for everything you're doing and the future that you're trying to create for this neighborhood. We're really excited about being part of it. For the restaurants, I would ask that you guys consider slightly higher funding because our costs are different, but that's something you guys could talk through, but I just wanted to submit that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the chambers that would like to speak? All right, let's move on to online public comments. Ms. Kerfman, how many do we have online?
We have 2 online with their hands raised.
All right, so
Monica,
let's begin with Dr. Cleckley.
you
Dr.
are
Monica.
self-muted.
Dr. Monica, are you there?
Okay, am I unmuted now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes, we can hear you now. Hi, I'm so sorry. My name is Monica Roundtree Cleckley. Board certified family nurse practitioner. I am actually at my daughter's open house. I am in a school building, so the reception is horrible. But I just wanted to say that I totally took a step of faith being an autonomous nurse practitioner to open up a medical center in my hometown, born and raised in the city of Boynton Beach, grew up on the streets of Seacrest, Boynton Beach Boulevard, and was totally ecstatic at the opportunity to open up a medical office on 10th Avenue in Boynton Beach. I was one of the tenants who, when I found out about the cost, it was going to, I was going to be endowed with to try to move into this new space. It was very cumbersome, very burdensome, but I still wanted to do it. And I too am just very grateful and appreciative for whatever you are able to do to assist us with getting into the building, because I truly believe that offering a medical office, maybe / urgent care on 10th Avenue to service the clients in the community of Boynton is going to be an absolute win-win situation for the city of Boynton Beach. Literally, I can walk to my mom's house from this place. I can walk to the park. I mean, it's where I grew up, and I've always really wanted to be in the heart of the city where people can walk to get medical services. So I'm very ecstatic and very excited to work with you all. I too want to personally thank Bonnie for all of her blood, sweat, and tears, and just helping us through our frustrations, through our questions, through our uncertainties. And I really appreciate it because, the cost barrier was really going to be something that was going to force me out of the opportunity. But now knowing that you all are going to be willing to work with us, I'm also looking for other streams and strategies, because with healthcare, with the pandemic, there's a lot of uncertainties. But despite that, I'm still wanting to move forward with doing this medical office and lighten up that 10th Avenue in the city of Boynton. So I'm ecstatic, I'm grateful, and I thank you all so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Monica.
Thank you, Dr. Monica.
And Ms. Kirkman, let's move on to the next speaker.
Yes, Christopher Carlton.
All right, Mr. Colton, please begin when you're ready.
Good evening. My name is Christopher Hamilton Linton, and I am the co-owner of Couture's Place, which will be the full-service restaurant located at the Heart of Boynton Beach Shops. And we have actually done a cost analysis, just trying to figure out the actual cost. The only thing that we don't have is the cost of the build out to do the space. But essentially, we've estimated the cost on the plans, the design plans, which we've already started. We also know that there's permitting that we have to pay for. The hood itself is going to range about $50,000 to put in the hood to cover the equipment. The equipment will run us about $85,000. The walk-in freezer about another $20,000. And so we've gotten up to about $300,000 before we even look at the capital to open this restaurant without knowing the actual build out costs for some of the fixtures that will remain if our business should close. So we're very grateful that the CRA is looking into funding. And as I joined John with his restaurant as well, that we would love for you to consider that the restaurant takes quite more funding to get off the ground. And we look forward to any type of funding that you can provide to assist us with that. We really, like Dr. Monica, are from this area. We grew up in Boynton Beach and Lake Worth and look forward to being in the space, providing high quality food in a very nice environment. But then when we're kind of backdooring ourselves into the cost without knowing the full cost, we can't really plan accordingly. So we're still waiting to hear back from from Centennial to maybe give us some actual costs or some projected costs on the build out, so that we can see if this is prohibitive or that we can in fact move forward with our plans. So again, we do thank you. Anything? Okay, and we thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Griffin, just final check. Was that the last speaker?
We have one more business owner.
All right, let's hear from that person.
Yes, Miss Millian's Cassandra.
All right, please begin when you're ready.
You are self-muted. Cassandra, you're self-muted. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, hello, my name is Cassandra Malines. I am with Malines Hair World. And again, as everybody has forestated, I would like to thank you guys for the opportunity for me to bring my salon on Martin Luther King. This is a project that I've been wanting for and things that my mom have looked into years ago. Um, as they forestated, I too was counting the cost of what it would take for the build out for the salon, being able to have an area there that I can have for the local teens, different trainings and things of that nature. And again, Bonnie, I thank you guys for everything that you've done. And the city of Boynton Beach, I really appreciate you guys reaching out, to make our city better. I am from the Bible Church of God. I know you guys know about our Bible Church of God of Boynton Beach. We used to be right on the other side of 10th at the end by I-95. Now we're on Seacrest Boulevard. So I too grew up in Boynton. I too grew up over near Cherry Hill. My mother-in-law, I can walk to my mother-in-law's house that's right in front of the basketball court that's on Martin Luther King. So again, I do need the assistance. I am very interested in being on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, and I really appreciate everything that you guys have done for us as a community. I'm just overwhelmed with just being in a number, and I do appreciate anything that you guys can help us with. And I just want to say thank you in advance. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you guys, and I look forward to my new family of other business owners. And again, City of Boynton Beach, I really thank you and I appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you. I believe that was the last speaker, so now public comments are now closed. So board members, what are your thoughts? So we can proceed. Or would you like to hear from Mr. Sweezy at this time? All right, let's do that. Mr. Sweezy, we'd like to call you up. Earlier, we had the item for the updates on the shops and the residences, the semi-annual update. And if you could address any of the items that we've discussed thus far.
Well, right now, we're kind of still in a preliminary with the commercial because no one has really gotten any final design plans. So until the tenants come up with the design plan, we have no budget, no anything to go by. So it's still way premature. We're waiting on the tenants now. The ball's in their court and with their architect.
And who is their architect staff, or do we know who it is? Because I know we had some discussions about, do they have one architect for all tenants, or is it they all get their own? What's the update on that?
Bonnie can tell a little more the specific, but they're out of Miami. They're designer or design professionals.
No, so I believe they're all, so we have 6 tenants. So from the last update I had, 5 of the 6 are using Jonathan Embry. He's out of West Palm, and he's local. He's worked with a lot of other Boynton Beach projects. And then I'm not sure who the 6th tenant has retained, but yes, 5 of them have been using Jonathan.
Okay, so they have an architect who will do the designs and the planning for the build out. When do you think that information can be provided to Mr. Sweezy and to the CRA?
Some of the tenants might be able to better answer that question on their current, talks with their architect and design plans.
Okay.
And they could probably ask for a rough estimate for whoever's drafting the plan up, at least an idea of per square footage for construction, and then equipment can be a separate item.
And
so I don't.
Right. And to be clear, Mr. Sweezy, my interest here is not for the CRA to pay for all of their specialty equipment and all of that. I'm only thinking about the basics, the plumbing, the mechanical, the lighting, the electric. Exactly. I wouldn't even add the grease traps. I'm talking about making sure that the space is ready for business to move into.
Right.
That's it.
Well, plumbing for a bathroom and for air conditioning, you kind of get a grip on that. But I still need to see plans that do takeoffs.
And we have seen some draft from some, but we sense that it was subject to the board's decision today to what extent some or all of that will move forward. What that meant was I've seen a plan or two, but they've also indicated that they're looking for additional funding from the board, which may or may not change those plans.
All right, Board Member Hay had a question. Let's go to Board Member Hay.
I think my question is about to be addressed here. I was going to ask the attendants can address this in any way, shape, or form. The question that Mr. Sweeney is asking.
Me again, Sylvia Gillian. I completed mine. I'm not for sure John didn't give it to Paul because he stated that he was speaking with you. So, but I completed my plans and everything. I think I'm the most basic one. Give me the simple stuff and I'm done. It's a real estate business. I don't need machines and stuff like that. So I'm not for sure if you received it yet, but if not, I will make sure you receive because I completed mine.
So the vanilla
And paid
shell
for it.
is approximately 70,000.
Yes.
And then plus whatever the design fee up to 10,000 that gets reimbursed for your architects and engineers. So that's one tenant.
70,000 plus design fees for only them.
Yeah, so 70,000 for the improvement.
Okay.
Approximately, that's what we had very rough, just vanilla.
And board, if I may, I believe the restaurant, Carlton's Restaurant, they have submitted their design plans several times and they're still waiting on a quote from what I understand.
And again, just to note, the restaurant is taking up 3 bays. So if you equally divide the amount by 7 tenant bays, he will get 3 times whatever is associated with that. So that's how we thought would be the quickest, equitable way to do that without getting into all the details of each of their operations.
So, we're going to do our part to look for funding. And so my question to Centennial here is there anything that you can do on your end? So let's just say, for example, all the tenants provide their plans and there's an estimate of whatever is the bare minimum. Is there anything that can be done from your end of the financial picture?
God, it's funny that you mentioned. I was just out at the job site Monday, and we get it's like a $300,000 change order for offsite, unanticipated in the front. I'm there and I meet the roofer, and he's telling me he has to give me a $38,000 increase, even though I have a signed contract with him, a $38,000 increase because of material. Then the drywall guy, even though I have a signed contract with him, and he's the one that did Ocean Breeze, same subs. I had to pass on the higher cost of drywall since we signed the contract. I don't know where my numbers are going to end up at this time, but I can't hold them. It's crazy. I'm not saying anything to anyone because I agreed to something, so I just do it. But right now, I don't know where I'm going to be at the end of it. I know right now my shell guy is locked. He's almost finished. My windows are coming in. I have to make a few changes, but it's customary. My electrician hasn't said a word to me and my plumber hasn't. So they're all holding their numbers. But I don't know where I am right now to say anything at this time because believe me, I knew that inflation forecast was going to come in high today just by my construction and the heat I'm hearing from everybody. And I don't think my subs are making any money either. It's hard times right now.
I can see that. Now, recently we learned that additional funding from the county will be arriving to support this project.
Yeah.
Is it possible for a portion, just even a fraction of that, to support these businesses?
Can I come back to you on that?
Absolutely.
Let me get a little better grip, and I'm more than happy. I think I've dealt with the city for a long time, and I try not to be anything but equitable.
I appreciate that, sir. And hopefully by then, the tenants can provide some sort of additional information to you so we have some clearer pictures.
If any of the tenants are listening, believe me, from the bottom of my heart, the quicker we could get your design plans, the quicker we could lock in the prices, and the more everybody will feel more comfortable. And the ball's really and if the architect's listening, both architects, the ball's in your court. Get with your clients and make it happen for their sake, for the city's sake, and for our sake.
All right, Executive Director.
Yes, I just want to give you a quick accounting of the money so far and how that could be spread. You've got 87,000.
This is the owner's contingency?
Owner's contingency.
Okay.
This is just for the CRA. You've got, if you choose to do 30,000 out of this year's budget, 10. And then
Once again, Executive Director. Could somebody message Vice Chair? Could you just let her know to mute that? Okay. All right. Thank you. Go ahead.
And then 65,000 if you choose to allocate it from the Ocean Breeze, and you have concurrence with Ocean Breeze, with Centennial to not utilize or contribute to that. The 65,000 with that will be 362,000 split by 7 tenants would be $51,714. So that's for the CRA alone.
Executive Director, let's have them address that Ocean Breeze East situation first. Because if it's not even on the table, then we're wasting our time. But let's see if it's even on the table.
Yeah. Hi. Can you refresh me with everything with Ocean Breeze, please?
Sure. So Ocean Breeze, there's approximately 2,000 square feet of that space that was supposed to be for community space. For first, it was going to be a tutoring company that was going to come in, if you remember. That kind of fell through. We, the CRA, have a purchase order. We've allocated 65,000 of our funding that budget year for helping to do the tenant improvement. And I believe Centennial had come up with 50,000 that they'll contribute, that you guys would contribute to the tenant improvement. That is if it's a community space. If the CRA board decide not to use that as a community space and allow Centennial in your original request to utilize that for your space, I believe at that time it was for storage.
Yeah.
Or
no, that would be fine, and we'd be happy to forfeit the 65,000.
Okay, for
yes,
that, yes.
yeah.
And then I believe that would be requiring an amendment to our agreement.
That's no
And
problem, Director.
Okay, hold up a second. I just heard an agreement there. Thank you, Mr. Sweezy. Because that frees up 65K from the
our-
CRA,
Right.
frees up the 50K that you otherwise would have spent, and you're in agreement with freeing that up for these purposes. Is that, did I state that correctly?
I'll probably end up spending that anyway in there to do that, but I'll donate the 50,000.
Okay.
Right.
And so that the use of that space will still be a community use, or do you want to take that and just, because that's just an improvement money. That's all it is.
Yeah, just
But the
free
space
it
is
up.
still,
Yeah.
would you still like to keep it as community space, or approve his request to use it for his own
Yeah.
purpose?
Board Member Kelly?
Well, I mean, we would have to improve it to use it. So if we're going to retain those funds and not improve it, then what use would it be for us?
None. It would be their space now.
So I think that's what Twee was just trying to get us to.
So we need to
to
get direction on the
concede.
use and also the
Right.
money.
Council?
If I could
Yes.
maybe just clarify the conversation that I think we're having. If everyone is in agreement, in exchange for releasing the community space requirement from the Ocean Breeze East project, the CRA will take the $65,000 that was going to go towards that space and put it towards Wells Landing. Centennial will take the $50,000 they were going to put towards that space and put it towards Wells Landing, and Centennial will no longer be obligated to use that as a community space and can do with it as you like.
That's I'm very happy with that.
Okay, is
And we
everyone
can
in?
bring back the
Excellent.
agenda, that as an agenda item at the next month's meetings to make sure
Yes.
because that's
Finalize
not
that
on
in
this
agreement,
item,
in
on this
writing.
agenda.
If I can just have the consensus, if you all will just
Do we have
nod
the
at me.
Yes.
Yes, we have.
Okay, outstanding. And then
Unanimous
gentlemen,
yes.
you're okay generally with those terms, and we'll coordinate with you on the specifics?
Thank you so much.
So
Thank you.
let me just add up the numbers. There was 85K from owner's contingency, 65K from the CRA that's now freed up, 50K from Centennial. We are at a total of $202,000.
Yeah.
And what about the 30? There was a 30,000?
Didn't you say there was 30,000 from something?
If the board chooses to contribute out of this fiscal year 22-23 budget from what you'll be discussing. So that is, 362. Hang on, total 412,000 divided by 7. You're looking approximately $58,857. So
On top of the
59,000.
210,000.
No,
That's
on
right.
top of the 292 that you'll get from the grants. Yeah. So you're looking at each of the space getting approximately 58,000
Okay.
to be used for mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and ADA bathroom needs. Those are the basics that you'll
That is
need.
phenomenal.
I am pretty happy right now.
Yeah. You agree with that?
Yeah, I'm happy with it too.
Very good.
All right.
Win-win situation.
Yes, it is.
It is.
It is.
Because we don't want these spaces to be vacant and we don't want these businesses to walk away. It's good for everybody. So to be clear, Executive Director, through the normal grants that we have, rent reimbursement, property improvement, so on, that's $292,000 already, right? And then we have, from the discussions that we've just had now, we've just freed up $202,000 from those items that we just discussed.
And that will also, to allocate more funding to that, it'll require, again, an amendment or just a reallocation of funds
On our end,
on our end.
with the exception of that legal amendment that needs to be made for Ocean Breeze East.
Yeah, so you would not need to do any amendment to the Heart of Boynton Village or the Wells Landing
Excellent.
agreement. at all.
Okay,
Let's subject that to legal review because we're going to be allocating funds from one project to the other. So we may, we will bring back to you the necessary agreements to effectuate the deal that we've worked tonight.
Excellent.
we don't have a lot of good days here, but this is a good day.
This is a good day.
I love it. Sounds that's music to my ears.
All right. All right, thank you. Is there anything else on this particular topic relating to the tenants? Because what I'd like to do, since we have them here, is for the project update, the semi-annual update. Unless there was something else, Executive Director, you wanted to say about this? No, okay. All right, so let's go ahead, Mr. Sweezy, Mr. Bilton. As part of your contractual requirements here, the semi-annual progress report for the purchase and development agreement with Wells Landing for the residential as well as the shops.
Okay, right now, we just had a top off of the building for the shops on the north end. So we'll be getting ready to install the windows, the shop windows and the windows. And we anticipate having that building finished by the end of January. And then to the buildings to the south, we're having one, we anticipate it getting done in April and the other one in the June or July of the year. And outside that we've hired a few community people to work within our project and work for RS Construction, which is our construction arm. And we're excited and we're moving forward. And the sooner, and I hope all the tenants are listening, we want to work with you. We need to lock into these prices because they're just escalating by the minute. And just get the plans and let's get moving. Let's get it all done because your building's coming online right away.
Very good.
It'd be a lot faster than anybody thinks.
Excellent. Questions and comments from my colleagues?
Louis, before you came in, I complimented you guys on the well-kept grounds that you have there. It's very clean. As I bruise through there, I'm very pleased in comparison to some of the other sites that I've seen. So you guys are really doing a great job. It almost scares me, but just keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And we're going to work with you and you work with us.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Commissioner.
All right, very good. Anything else? All right, Vice Chair Cruz, I just want to make sure I give you that opportunity.
Did she say?
Yep, I don't have any comments at this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair. Board member?
I do have a last closing question for you. As we go down the road here, are you looking to use any local vendors on this project site to, as far as the plumbing or whatever?
Well, the plumbing subcontractor is a Boynton Beach plumbing sub.
Okay.
And,
That Ridgeway?
Yeah,
Okay.
Ridgeway.
Okay.
And then we wanted to use another Boynton Beach electrician, which is Sir Electric. But They were great vendors in our last project. We're really impressed with them, but they were too busy to do the work.
Okay.
They couldn't take on any more work at that time. And we're still, I can't tell you all the contracts that are giving out, but I know the major like MEPs and the Shell have been done. Maybe I don't know if the landscaping or irrigation has been given out too, but usually we get a lot of interest from Boynton Beach subs on that too.
Very good. Thanks, Louis.
All right, that concludes it for me. If there's nothing else, thank you so much to both of you. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to move on to item 30.
And by the way, Mayor,
Yes.
your new transition has done even a better job than Mike Simons, and I thought the world of him. Okay.
Excellent. Excellent. 13E, update regarding a purchase and development agreement with Pulte Home Company LLC for the Cottage District infill housing redevelopment project.
Yes, again, Tweeshat for the record. Before you, just as an FYI, we provided, Vicki, if you can put up on the screen the visuals so that we all could see that. The board members each have a packet that has been printed out, reflects what's up, that will be up on the screen. So this project, this is located east of Seacrest Boulevard between Northeast 4th Avenue and 5th Avenue. This assemblage is a CRA-owned property, approximately 4.6 acre. To date, we have demolished all the existing structures that are on the last two sites, as shown in gray on the left graphics. The property, the CRA board selected Pulte Homes in July to build and develop this property for approximately 41 units, consisting of, as you can see at the bottom, the left-hand side is what was originally in the LOI. It's approximately 41 units, 9 to 11 units, single-family detached units. The remaining 30 units will be for townhomes in 5 buildings. On the right-hand side is the revised site plan. So board direction to staff was, during negotiation, was to try to get as many additional single-family homes in there, approximately 50% if possible, because the board wanted to see more single-family. All these will be affordable in the range between $169,000 to $200 and I believe 19,000, but it'll be in the low to moderate 1 category, which is unheard of. They're approximately average wise with the garage, approximately 2,000 square feet, 3 bedroom, 2 baths. There are 2 models that will be provided that are 1 story and 1 model that is that is 2 stories. Vicki, if you can go back one more, I just want to mention there are 2 items that we'd like board direction as we continue to negotiate with Pulte and their representative. As you can see, the original plan, there's the park location, which is in blue, was towards the northeast corner. And then the new layout has the park located on the southeast corner. So that's one change that we would like to seek board direction on. The second is the access drive in the orange on the left-hand side, kind of dead ends near the southern portion, and it's punched through in the revised. So if the direction for the board is to try to get as many units as possible in there, there could be potential of 1 to 2 more units that could be also designed in the site. The proposed revised plan shows an additional 8 lots that can be dedicated for single family. And then the remaining will be 20 homes consisting, they'll be supported in 3 buildings, 2 6-unit building and 1 8-unit building. So we would like direction on this layout. And then the second item, and you can give us direction one at a time, or if you want, I can present both items for your consideration.
Just present both.
Okay, the second one, Vicki, if you can go to the next slide, has to do with the elevations or the architectural treatment. So Pulte has presented to us 3 different styles: the Craftsman style, the Coastal style, and the Mediterranean style. And on the columns, you can see the various models. The Browning model and the Chapman are 1-stories designs, and the others, the 2-story Hamden model. So Pulte would like for the board to consider at least one, and they would rather not have it mixed because it gets a little too, again, it's too mishmash, for lack of better words. So they would like some direction on that. And then they're presenting, each of these will have 1 color palette. So the board can ask for additional if the board chooses. The difference between, I just want to point out, between this and what you saw of the last proposals for the RFP, RFQ is that this is an LOI. So we did not have requirements like we did with the RFP, where we dictated the park location, the looks of the architectural treatment, so on and so forth. So with that, we would just want the board to give us direction on the aesthetics as well as the layout of the site plan to continue to finalize our draft of the purchase and development agreement for the project.
Executive Director, let's talk about the layout first. In order to accommodate those additional single-family homes, what had to be given up? I mean, something had to give to make room for that.
So currently the zoning is R2. So it allows for duplexes and single-family home. As you put more units in there, you will have to make the lots less wide, so be less wider. So right now, the proposed site plan shows approximately 50-foot wide lots and 100-foot long, deep lots. If you look at in your packet on the 3rd page, that gives you an idea of the setbacks. The required setback of the R2 district. This property to be developed in this particular more uniform development, a planned development, you would need to rezone it to one of those districts that's permitted in the LDRs, the IPUD, or just a planned unit development. This helps you control the site access, your drainage, anything that, it's going to be developed as one uniform development versus individual lots. So if you look on page 3, if you were to just take and you didn't have any rezoning being done, the lots, you could only fit probably about 23 to 24 single family lots. If you look at the way the lots are shaped, they'll be irregular lots. And there's some larger lots that will have to be subdivided. If you do subdivide and you go through a rezoning to subdivide these into more uniform or more regular shaped lots, you could fit approximately 40 to 41. So you have more, units to be able to have for the public. So if your goal is to have as many for sale products as possible, you would want to lean towards rezoning it to a district that would be acceptable for the land use. So this site, you could actually fit approximately 70 units on here if you really want to go to the maximum land use when you rezone it. That's not what Pulte is delivering. So it's really a matter of, we all know affordable housing is in a crisis situation now. If the board chooses it's a priority to provide quality affordable housing for the community, you would probably want to go to the higher number and try to rezone it so that you actually have some control also with an HOA. And with the HOA, you would probably be able to have restrictions as well on the deed restriction for the 15-year maintenance of affordability and the aesthetics of the community, the streetscape, all that to be obligated for the developer to do.
Board Chair, I'd like to offer a little clarification on the process before we get into it, which is that this board, when the executive director is saying you rezone, she means generically, right? And so it's not this board that accomplishes any rezoning. What you would be doing this evening, no, and you expressed it as Pulte, but it would be just blessing Pulte to move forward with that process and saying that as the CRA, you would consent to them moving that process forward. And so just for clarification for everyone, that's what it is you're discussing tonight. If this is the desired site plan, if this is the direction you would like to set them on.
All right, so let's pose that question to my colleagues here. Are you comfortable with the revised site plan that added 8 more single-family homes? Would you like to go back to the original site plan, or would you like to even increase the number of single-family homes even further, as the executive director alluded to? However, that is not what Pulte is presenting. They're presenting just the 8 additional single-family homes in this document.
And just to add, for some visuals again to compare us, because you may not be able to see it with the site layout, we provide in your packet also some of the similar product, not the exact thing that Pulte has done in the past with some of these units, and what it would look like in terms of the setback, the side setbacks.
The pages
as well.
after?
Yes.
Do you wanna, yeah, draw us to that.
It's similar. I believe
Is the mic on?
Andrew, Mr. Maxey is online. He can probably speak more to that, but at least it's visually tells you what the 1 and 2 stories and spacing in between may look like if you were looking. And just to note, this site will be a much more generous and spatial relationship between the units. If you look at next to the last page, in Delray, they don't have an open space like ours. We have a large green space for retention or detention. So you're not going to have that back-to-back juxtaposition of the lots. So just for spatial references.
Right, I see that. Was there anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Maxey, if he is available online, perhaps he wants to add additional comments before the board weighs in. Ms. Kerfman, is he available?
Yes, Mr. Maxey, you're self-muted.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. Thanks, Twee, for going over it. The image on the screen here, Carver Square, as Twee indicated, our proposed plan will have a lot more open space. We won't have really any back-to-backs, but it will give you an idea of sort of the size of these units. We're going to use similar floor plans. To answer your question regarding how we arrived at adding 8 additional single-family units, it was driven by a combination of reducing some of the parking for the neighborhood park, paired with reducing some of the lot sizes. Previously, we were kind of matching what the previous block had in terms of lot sizes, and now we're proposing 50-foot lots. So they're going to be a little bit narrower, but they'll still be able to accommodate the same exact floor plan that we were previously proposing. Also, by cutting through the road, we were also able to avoid having to provide the T turnaround for fire, and that also allowed for a slightly more efficient layout to gain the additional units. So basically, we went from having 25% of the project being single family to now 50% of the project being single family, which was, the direction from the board. That's a summary of the site plan layout. And then as it relates to the architecture, we wanted to provide some additional options. And I believe the prior versions we provided were not these 3D rendered versions, so you get a little bit more detail. We're just looking for the board to select a style between the coastal, the Mediterranean, and the Craftsman. And then from there, we can further refine, if there's recommendations on color palette or some slight modifications to the elevation, we can handle that through the zoning process. But at least if we get some direction on the style now, we'll have sort of a go forward plan of action. And I'd be happy to answer any questions as they come up.
Sounds good. Do we have any questions or comments to Mr. Maxey?
Yes.
Board Member Hay.
What is the distance between the units right now, and would that change with the addition of 8 more units?
Yes, so the setbacks, the proposed setbacks in the new plan would be smaller. They would be 5-foot setbacks on each side. Previously, I think we had closer to 7.5 and maybe 10 in some areas. So yes, based on what was previously proposed, the homes would be slightly closer together, but it would still be the same exact product.
refresh my memory. I had the distinct pleasure of visiting a site down in Delray. What's
Those would
the,
be similar to, yeah, those would be similar to what's being proposed here in the new site plan.
those are very nice.
Just to make sure I heard that correctly, we went from, the difference was 5 in between, or previously 7.5 to 5?
7.5 to 5.
7.5 to 5,
Right.
okay, all right.
And that wasn't too bad, but I wouldn't want to go less than that.
Correct.
I looking at the selections here, the categories, I like the coastal, Chapman, like one in the middle there. That's my, I was strongly proponent and supporter of a porch and on the front until I saw the units down in Delray, and it really did look pretty doggone good without that. I was going to probably try to fight that, but I don't think I will now after having seen those units down in Delray. I think it looks very nice here. So that's, I don't know what my colleagues would select, but that would be mine, the coastal and the Chapman.
Thank you, Board Member Hay. So you've given your position on the architecture. What about the revised site plan? You're comfortable with the reduction,
Yes,
but no less than
but no
5?
less than 5.
Okay, that's important to know, and I'm comfortable with that as well. That'll give us additional homes, but nothing closer than that. Let's hear from the other board members. Board Member Turkin, Kelly.
Yes, I think if the goal was to provide more single-family homes, which is where we're at now with almost double, and we're looking at a 2.5-foot setback difference, I think that's worth it. I agree with my colleague. I wouldn't want to go more than that. And also they're providing the infrastructure as well for this, which I think is huge and, very flexible. I do agree with Board Member Hay. I've had my eye on Coastal Chapman. I don't know if it's the little tint of blue that's right there that caught my eye. And so, Andrew, if you're still listening, my question for you is, if we select a model, is there a way to maybe apply more cottage feel once you have guidance?
Yeah, I think once we land on a style, you're still going to have these 3 different floor plan options to choose from, and then from there, I think the looks can start to look dramatically different when you introduce different color palettes. And then certainly if there were some minor modifications that we needed to accommodate, we could. I've been pretty consistent in saying that we certainly can't do any major structural changes involving porches or anything like that. But if the requests were minor in nature, I certainly think they could be accommodated through the zoning process.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, Board Member Kelly.
Yeah, I have a couple of comments. So the park kind of came about before us, and I'm just wondering, I don't know, I just don't know that a park is needed in this type of development. And I just kind of wanted some feedback maybe from my colleagues on that, because I feel like if the goal is to, put houses, we have a lot of city parks, then an HOA would then have to maintain it, and then would have to worry about, people hanging around, and that area is more of a, kind of strict residential. And I'm just wondering if a park really fits in that look. But I'm going to defer to Board Member Hay on this, just to get his feedback, because I know he sat, and you were too, Chair. So
Yes, I have some thoughts on that as well, but let's hear from Board Member Hay first.
I understand where you're coming from, but I would disagree, because when I was down there, I saw kids, and they need somewhere to let loose that energy that they have. And I think with having that many units and we already reducing it to add more, I think it's needed in this particular instance. I can see your point, but I think on this particular project and with what I see in the surrounding area, and I know the units themselves are going to be the same probably with kids, they need a place to release that energy. So I think the park is money well spent.
So, board members, I actually have mixed feelings about this park because I see both arguments here, and I think the compromise will be the following question, which is my concern is who maintains the park? Because if we're going to have one, can we just make sure that it stays safe and clean? And what about security? What are the security plans for this area? Is there any fencing, any of that? And perhaps that's something that Mr. Maxey could address. And Mr. Maxey, while you address the park maintenance and safety, could you also address what the middle section would be? It says dry retention. Do you have future ideas or other ideas of what the site may be in the middle?
Sure. So it's, it's serving a functional purpose for drainage because we have to handle all of the drainage on site. We won't have an option. We'll need to obviously pre-treat all of the stormwater, but we also wanted to, also use it as potentially a feature on the site. So our hope and our intention is to make it actually a lake instead of a dry detention basin and actually have some water in there. And then as it relates to security, given the nature of the block setting where we have the houses facing the street, it will be nearly impossible to have any level of security here. And if you did, you would only be able to really secure those interior units. So we do not have intentions to secure it. It will be open, but the roads internal will be, owned privately, of course. And then as it relates to the park, I mean, I think we're open to options. We're certainly not married to having a park here. I think we would look to the board for, direction on that. If the board wanted to see a park, certainly we would, the association would be able to maintain it. It wouldn't be a big park. It would be some parking and just some landscaping. And then we would have to work with the city on, establishing some type of public use easement so that, people outside of the community could enjoy it as well.
So that is where I stand. I mean, I'm okay with the park as long as it is maintained properly and it is safe because from what I see, it's just open to anybody and everybody. And I thought the original intention was a kind of a neighborhood or just this development park. But if it's open, let's make sure that it's safe for all the kids and the families that would be there. I think that might be a longer conversation, but that's where I am. That's my concern. Board Member Hay?
I think another factor we need to factor in here, the HOA, they would play a part in coming up with maintaining and solution to this, if that is a problem. Okay. I don't know, the complex to the south, that's just Corey Jones Villa, something like that.
In Delray?
It's right next door to the one in Delray, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a park in that particular one?
No.
No, I didn't
No.
think so.
No.
Which is more reason why I support the idea. Because you're getting more and more people come in a compact area with no form of release. And I found that to be a challenge. Because when you start putting too many people together and they got no way to release that energy, you're looking for potential problems, as I've been my experience. Okay. But I go along with the majority. But again, I feel that the park should be there.
All right, Board Member Turkin, and I'd like to hear from Vice Chair Cruz. Board Member Turkin?
I like the idea of the park there. I think it is important for children to have somewhere to go. My question is for Andrew. You mentioned you would look at that as like a lake or like a retention pond, I guess. What's your timeline for that? When do you see that happening?
We would construct the lake feature, as part, through the development process, would be sort of simultaneous with, the construction of the homes.
Okay. So my concern is what the mayor mentioned about the access to it. I would like a neighborhood park. Like I think this park should be for the neighborhood. I don't. Oh, go ahead.
I just had a question that,
Yep.
is this project going to be fenced in or not?
That was one of my questions.
Right.
I'm glad you brought that up. Let's ask Mr. Maxey. Mr.
Yeah,
Maxey, is
I
this?
think it should be fenced in.
What's on the table? Is that a question for Mr. Mackey?
I mean, I think access to I think it would be tough to restrict access here. I mean, you could potentially put a fence around the park itself, of course, but the overall community, you can't fence it because all the units are facing out to the block.
So it would just be shrubberies.
Yeah, I mean, you could put just a fence around the park itself, and that's it. And you could
That would make me feel a little bit better.
Yeah,
you could
that's
have a pedestrian gate.
I would like to see a fence around the park.
Yeah.
You know,
Would that not take away from the beauty of it?
I think with
it
great.
could. I mean, Andrew, could you put some Kalusha around the fence on the outside of the perimeter? That's what I would do.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah,
about
we could
design
fence the park, and we could have a pedestrian gate, and then we could plant some shrubs around it and make it look nice. I mean, that's easy.
Well, that works for me.
Okay. Vice Chair Cruz, we have not heard from you. Would you like to, any comments on this item?
Thank you, Chair. Yep, I originally was thinking that I wanted to oppose the reduction in setback requirements, but looking at the new proposal and seeing how the developer really worked to give us what we wanted, specifically more single-family homes, I definitely want to thank them for doing that. And so I'm just going to agree with it and move on. In regard to the park, I happen to agree with Commissioner Hay. I think it's important for children to have an area to play. As you said, Chair, I do understand both sides of the coin. It's a positive in regard to the children in the community, that they can play and have somewhere to use up that energy. But at the same time, it could create a potential avenue for outside people to come in and maybe create specifically for the houses adjacent to the park. It could create a potentially unsafe environment. So I do see both sides of the coin. I think that we're going to have to see where we get consensus, but I would be in favor of getting it. The only thing that I'm thinking about is if we do have parking spots at the park, I just think that would probably bring in more outsiders than actually allowing people who live in the neighborhood to use that park. So that's kind of my thought there.
All right, anything else from my colleagues? Yes, Board Member Kelly?
Yeah, that's kind of with parking, you're allowing the outside to come in, and if it truly is, and we want it as a neighbor, I'm on the fence because at one point we want a neighborhood park that kids can go to and are free to go to, but then if we close it in to just this development, then we're closing out those neighborhood kids so I don't know, it's hard because you want it to be secure and safe for kids to use it. But then you also don't want to restrict it from kids that just live across the street. So
let me ask Council maybe this is for you, council, maybe the executive director. So if they were to build a fence around this park, then it would be under the control of the HOA, whether to leave it open, you know, to the general public. Do you have any thoughts about that? In other words, can this be the decision made by the HOA and not by us? Because then the local residents of this development will have a say of, okay, all right, there's too many people, it's causing problems outside. Maybe we need to start putting restrictions, or maybe not.
Certainly, this board does not need to mandate that one way or the other. What I do want to caveat here is that I cannot speak to the city code requirements that make sense for fencing in playgrounds and parks. Sometimes there are requirements for that. So you certainly don't need to add additional restrictions that may exist. It could be left in the hands of the HOA. There's no requirement that you address it at all.
Okay.
So what I'm hearing is,
Let's go ahead from vice chair since we.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I called you mayor. I meant chair.
It's fine.
Chair, I was thinking, what if we potentially remove the parking spaces and just leave the park? Would that be something more feasible for the community in the area where they don't feel like, I mean, yes, obviously children from the surrounding areas could potentially come in, but that's fine in my opinion. I don't see anything wrong with that. What I do see something wrong with is people just coming and parking there who don't live in the area. And so if we were to remove the parking spaces, maybe that would reduce that possibility.
Executive director?
Maybe I can add a little background to it. I believe at one time, the parking spaces were provided just as a place for the parents. There was probably a school bus stop or something there that could be done. That's where the parking comes from, because really, if you have children in that development, you don't need to drive. And if it's open to the public for the neighborhood, they can walk as well.
Yes.
There was also discussion. I'm sorry. And there was also discussion early on when we were looking at that space. I think the board, there were mixed feeling, because we were developing Sarah Sims. Because again, you have a beautiful, we in the city have invested money in that particular park, which is 4 blocks down the road. So again, there are provision. When this came in back then, Sarah Sim was not completed yet as well. So that's something to consider. But the parking was not something that's required to be at this location. So it was just for people who may want to use it and they have to drive, but it's not an important component.
Board member Turkin?
Yeah, so the vice chair took the words right out of my mouth. What I'm hearing is we want a park here in the neighborhood for the kids in the neighborhood and the neighboring kids. And so if our concern is for people not in the neighborhood or the neighboring neighborhoods coming in, then why don't we just eliminate the parking? I mean, this is just here to be here, is what I'm hearing from the executive director. So I think we can kind of hit 2 birds with 1 stone, and we have a fence that can be beautified with, whatever Pulte can come up with. So
Now, board member, I'm not sure what city code requires. Does city code require parking for every park? I don't know.
Right.
But I don't know if anybody has anything to add to that.
There may be some required parking for guest parking for the residential, but again, the next item we'd like your direction on is the street, the through street as well. So.
All right. Vice Chair?
Sorry. Last thing, not trying to be paranoid or anything, but every time I see an Amber Alert on my phone and I think of a children's park, and then I think of so many parking spaces like right next to the children's park, it just kind of gives me a negative connotation. So just to protect the kids and to not, and again, I'm not trying to be paranoid, but I think it's always better to be safe than sorry. And I do happen to agree that we should probably just remove the parking spaces.
All right. So while we have you, Vice Chair, we heard your thoughts on the park, and we need some clarity now so we can move this discussion forward. Are you comfortable, which is what I thought you said, but are you comfortable with the additional single-family homes?
I'm very happy with that, yes.
And are you comfortable with this cut-through street that they created right down the path?
Yes.
Okay. And in terms of your position on the architectural design, craftsman versus coastal versus Mediterranean, because I'm going to take note of everyone's stance on this. Did you have a position on that one?
I was looking at the screen and then it was changed. Can we go down for a sec? Yep, okay. So I like the craftsman Hamden model. Or the craftsman model.
Okay.
Just as a clarification, all of the styles will have the 3 models. You're just making, yeah. So it's either craftsman, coastal, or Mediterranean.
So we're choosing horizontally.
Horizontally,
Yes.
yes, sir.
Craftsman it is.
Okay. We have one down for craftsman. So Vice Chair Cruz. All right, so we've heard our positions on all those items. Let's go with Board Member Hay. Let's just go down the dais. Board Member Hay, you're comfortable with the additional single-family homes?
Yes.
And you're comfortable with the cut-through street?
Yes.
And you're comfortable with the park?
Yes.
Having the park?
Yes.
And what were your thoughts about potentially removing the parking, assuming of course, that city code allows
I
for?
don't have a problem with removing the parking.
Okay, assuming city code allows.
If code allows it.
Okay.
Allows it.
All right, excellent. And your position on the architecture?
Coastal.
All right, as for me, I am comfortable with the additional single-family homes, the cut-through street, with the park, and potentially even removing the parking, assuming city code is fine with that. In terms of the design, I am actually teetering between craftsman and coastal. And so, I mean, I'll be the tiebreaker if we have a tiebreaker. How about that?
Nice tint of blue there, Chair, just saying. I'm gonna go with coastal.
All right.
And I think I agree with my colleagues and everything else.
All right. Excellent. Board Member Kelly?
I agree with the revised site plan, the road through. I will go with the majority as far as the park goes. And then I am a coastal. I like all the blue. I have a blue front door, so I have a blue front door. So I love the blue.
We have a majority for
You
coastal.
got out of that one, didn't you?
You know, these are, as the saying goes, these are the
Think about the
decisions.
wide garage and how dirty they can get, okay, y'all?
What did
Think
you say,
about
Vice
that.
Chair?
I said, think about the white garages and how dirty they're gonna get. I have one, so.
Mine's white too.
We'll paint it blue.
Well, this is only part of the process. It's not final. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've given direction to staff, unless staff has any further questions for us on this. All right, let's move forward. Thank you so much, everybody. The next item is F. It reads consideration of approval of Boynton Village LLC, also known as the Preserves Performance Audit for year ending December 31st, 2021 for compliance with the direct incentive funding agreement.
Good evening, Board
evening.
Chair, Vice Chair, and board members. We have before you Boynton Village LLC. Back in 2006, they entered into an agreement in order to provide funding for the construction of affordable, free, simple for sale townhouse units. Now, under the terms of the DIFA, that's that agreement, terms of the DIFA and including the current reimbursement request for year 7. This will be year 7. And we are asking the board to approve what should go to them, which is $29,098. And what will remain with the CRA is $137,176.
All right, thank you for that update. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion to approve the tax increment reimbursement payment in the amount of $29,098.
I moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? I'm sorry, we need to take public comments on this item. let's go ahead and we'd take public comments. Is there anybody in the chambers that would like to speak on this item? Seeing Commissioner Hay. Seeing none, we're gonna go online. Do we have anybody online?
No hands are raised.
All right, thank you, Ms. Kerfman. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those who oppose say no. The ayes have it. The motion passes. Thank you. Thank you. We're now moving on to item G. Consideration of approval for the lease extension to Florida Technical Consultants LLC. Executive Director or Counsel, do you have anything to add to this item?
No, that this is just for your approval based on board direction from the last meeting. We included all the items in the bulleted points in the stuff in the cover agenda item summary. And Mr. Barton's here if there's any questions that you need,
Yes.
and I think he's in agreement.
Let's call this public comments, beginning with Mr. Barton and anyone else thereafter.
Hello, James Barton, 533 East Ocean. I just want to say thank you very much. The lease is great and the door is open to the egress and you did everything you said you were going to do. So I really greatly appreciate staff's involvement.
Thank you, Mr. Barton. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on this item? Any hands raised online?
No hands raised online.
All right, public comments are now closed. Any final questions or comments from my colleagues? Otherwise, may I have a motion to approve and execute the lease extension with Florida Technical Consultants LLC?
So move.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Barton. We have a related item that I asked to move up, which is 14C. 14C reads discussion and consideration of a lease extension request for Harvey E. Oyer Jr. Inc., doing business as Oyer, Makoviak and Associates, located at 511 East Ocean Avenue.
Yes, board chair and board members, this is just a request to have an additional 2 months so that Ms. Makoviak can have her new space be improved and final before she moves out. So this will take this lease up through December 15th of this year, and staff's in support, and she has executed those, that extension, and it's just waiting for you to approve and execute.
Anything from my colleagues? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the lease extension for Oyer, Makoviak and Associates?
So move. Second.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second? And of course, I'm going to ask for public comments on this item, even though I don't see anybody in the room. Is there anybody online?
No hands are raised.
All right, all right. So we have a motion before us. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those
Aye.
opposed say no. The ayes have it. The motion passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to H. H reads consideration of registration and travel expenses to attend the Florida Redevelopment Association 2022 annual conference on October 12th through 14th in Daytona Beach. It is an experience that I truly enjoyed in the past. It is fun and definitely worthwhile in terms of the amount of knowledge that you'll get out of it. So I encourage my colleagues to attend. Executive Director, I remember our time there together. Do you have anything to add?
Know that it's budgeted, and if the board can't, any of the board members can't attend, we've already presented this to CRAP just in case, because our next meeting won't be until October 6th, which is a couple days from travel date. So if there are any board members that can't attend, that will offer it up, and they've already have 3 people that they've selected that could represent them.
All
if
right.
you choose.
Sounds good. I'd like to hear from my colleagues if you would like to attend or not like to attend. Vice Chair Cruz?
I would love to attend, but I have to wait at work for a final schedule for October. So
Okay,
I
can
will
I
have
ask?
I will tentatively attend, but I won't schedule it until I know for sure if I have to be away for work.
Do we have a registration deadline, Executive Director?
I believe Vicky can give us for that.
Says here September 16th, hotel reservations cut off.
Yeah. It's just the cost. You can even go in and register the same day, but the cost goes up. And it's a reimbursement purpose. I mean, for for the format. It's you book it yourself and then you keep all the receipts and we reimburse you after
Okay.
the travel.
I just want to make sure that the vice chair has that option because I know she's waiting on her work. All right. Thank you for that, Vice Chair. Board Member Hay?
Yes, I will attend. I would like to caution, and just as a, make sure if we're gonna go, any of us, that we let them know as quickly as possible. You don't want the activities over point A and you're living down on point B. That could be very challenging. Okay, so just, if you can, make up your mind quickly. But I will attend.
All right, excellent. Board Member Turkin?
I'll be there.
Excellent. Board Member Kelly?
As much as it pains me, and
No.
I enjoyed last year, I, with having a November conference also, I have to skip out of October. It pains me. I enjoyed it. I got so much great information out of it last year when I got to go as a CRAB board member. So I really am disappointed that there's just so many things that are back to back. It's just timing with work and personal life. So I am happy to have a CRAB board member though go in my place because it really is it's you get so much great information and learn so much about what we do in the city and it really is helpful for people who can go. So I'm sorry, I'm gonna miss it, but that's where I am.
Thank you, Board Member. All right, so we have direction to staff.
What about yourself?
Oh, yes, I forgot about myself. I will be going,
Okay.
yes. And should anything change, of course, I will let everybody know ASAP.
So potentially we have one spot and possibly two. So we'll let the two CRAB board members. Do you have a preference who'd extend it to? Because right now it's the chair, Cobb, and also Mr. Purnell Davis are the two that CRAB had selected.
Well, in that case, Executive Director, I would prioritize the chair. All right, I believe that concludes that item. The related item to this is 14E, which is discussion and consideration of an alternative meeting date for the October CRA board meeting, since most of us will be away. And if we could bring up a calendar, there we go. There are the options. I am fine either way. If we have it on Monday or Wednesday, I am flexible on that week.
Monday the 10th. No.
Not an option.
It's on the screen.
True, it's on the screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. 17th.
All right, you're okay
Yeah.
with Monday the 17th? Board Member Hay?
Sure. Monday the 17th.
Okay. Vice Chair Cruz?
Yep, that's fine with me.
Okay, that was easy.
Wednesday's better for me, but it's okay. We'll go
Well,
with
you shot me down on the
Monday.
10th, so.
Guys, this meeting is a little too easy tonight. I mean, normally we
Hey,
Hold on,
hey,
hold on.
hey,
don't knock on wood.
Stop.
Be ready for next month.
All right, sounds good. We've given direction. The next item is I'm sorry, Council.
Board Chair, if
Do we need to make a formal motion to
you
set that
do,
meeting
because you
date?
set your calendar by motion. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Let's do that. May I have a motion to approve Monday, October 17th, 2022 at 6 p.m. as the alternative meeting date and time for October CRA board meeting?
So move.
We have
Second.
we have a motion from Board Member Hay, a second from Board Member Turkin.
And if we could just clarify that there was no public comment. Yes.
And there was no public comment. All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? All right. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. The next item is consideration and approval of a purchase and sale agreement with Boca Raton Regional Hospital, Inc. for a vacant lot located on Northwest 2nd Street. Executive Director, could you give us the update?
Yes, at the previous meeting that the board's seen this item, the board had instructed staff or direct staff to offer to purchase this from Bethesda Health at the appraised cost of $28,000. They've since done a counter offer to the price of $35,000. We're here for direction because that is above what our direction was from the board. Again, if Vicky, if you can put up the aerial to refresh the board memory on where this is located. This is on the 2 blocks west of Seacrest on the north side of Boynton Beach Boulevard. It's a little sliver of land. We are, yes, so that it's approximately 25 feet by maybe about 100.
Ms. Shutt, it would be helpful if you could just remind us of the strategic value of this parcel.
Yeah.
Sure, sure. Again, we have, part of our job is to assemble land for redevelopment, land that would otherwise not be developed or is not feasible for private sector to invest in. We also usually reach out to the people adjacent to the properties we're looking at to see what their plans are. And sometimes we try to support their plan as well to see what we can do to facilitate through the process. We did reach the adjacent property owner that owns 4 lots north of Boynton Beach Boulevard. I don't know, Vicki, if you can, the red roof, the one with the parking lot adjacent to the west, and the 2 properties where the curved northwest third court is. So those 4 lots are owned by one owner. And again, he is he's looking to develop, but not anytime in the near future. But he was looking at, at least just looking at opportunities and seeing what we would do for that area. So our plan allows that to go into an MU2, which is a mixed use development. And again, we've spent a lot of attention on the east side of Boynton Beach Boulevard. The previous board members have wanted to really concentrate on Boynton Beach Boulevard overall because we're doing that Boynton Beach Boulevard complete street. So as we look forward to doing new assemblage, because we've done 2 large parcels already, as you've seen, that 115 North Federal Highway site, the Pierce property, and then now also the Cottage District. We also are looking at beautification and making the complete street project on Boynton Beach Boulevard. It's timely to start looking on the west end. So that's one of our goals, as well as looking at assemblages along MLK Boulevard. This also should supplement what the board may want to do to the old post office site once the post office relocates. So we're looking to have more attention along the Boynton Beach Boulevard corridor. So that's our intention. So the maximum potential for these lots are more than what it is now for single family. So this will be ideal because if we're also actively looking at that triangular pieces in an estate, possession of an estate. So we try to pursue and contact the property owner. We'll try to do maybe issue letters of intent just to see what their plans are as soon as our budget is replenished. Again, last year we didn't have a lot to go by.
Okay, thoughts from my colleagues? So we were at, what was it, 28? And now we're at 35?
Yeah.
A difference of 7,000.
Yep.
I say it's worth our while to have this from a strategic standpoint to go ahead and go with the 35 instead and be done with it. Be in our hands, we control it. We have a say-so as to how that area is developed just by owning that one piece, and it opens up the avenue for others, for us to gain. Who owns the piece just south of that little triangle there, right there?
I believe it's in an estate, so I don't know. Teresa, I don't know if do you know? Yeah.
Just click it. Oh, well.
It's just a
That didn't go too well.
Yeah, I think that wasn't, yeah, you'd have to go to the property appraisers.
Okay, it's okay, but that's my position.
So you're comfortable moving forward at a counter of 35?
Absolutely.
Board Member Turkin, Board Member Kelly.
I agree with Board Member Hay. I think land positions crucial. It's important. It gives you power. We're appraised at 28. I'd like to counter offer, maybe at like 32,000. 30,000. That's just the wheel and deal in me.
Well, I thought
But
about,
I don't want to blow the deal.
I thought about that, board member Durkin, and the reason that I'm saying let's go for it, because I kind of know of some others who are trying to, get in on the playing field here, and we don't need to mess around.
Mhm.
Okay, I think we could easily lose it. My
Mhm.
opinion. Okay, I don't have a crystal ball, but that's why I'm saying let's go ahead. Okay, given what the difference of $7,000 is money well spent.
No, I agree. And like fiscally, like how much money have we saved in this budget, right? With our CRA budget. I mean, we saved, I think, over $300,000 with this Pulte in the cottage district. So we could look at pulling that 7,000 from that. I mean,
That'd be
I would not want to lose this piece and lose that control. That is my fear. I think that is money well spent, because they could already have another offer on the table. I don't know.
Under different circumstances, I would agree with you in terms of countering, but in this particular case, I think we need to move.
Sounds good. We have 2 members so far in favor of moving forward with a counteroffer of 35K. Board Member Kelly and Vice Chair Cruz.
Yeah, I'm fine with moving forward with the counter. I don't think looking at the way the real estate market is right now, I don't see that they're not overpricing us. I feel like they're being reasonable. They're looking at it as though they understand our position and who we are and what we're about, and I feel like it's fair. So I'm fine with it.
All right, Vice Chair.
I agree with it.
Okay. That was sweet and to the point. Let's hear any public comments on this item. Seeing none in the audience, is there anybody online with their digital hands raised? Ms. Griffman?
No hands raised.
All right. Seeing nothing else, may I have a motion to approve the counteroffer from Boca Raton Regional Hospital, Inc.
So
for the
moved.
vacant lot located on Northwest 2nd Street in the amount of $35,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those who
Aye.
oppose say no. The ayes have it. The motion passes unanimously. Okay.
So that piece of property just south, that seemed like a person's name there.
Yes, Harris.
Edward
Yes.
West, huh?
It's in an estate.
It's an estate? Okay, thank you.
The next item J was previously tabled, so first I'll need a motion to remove this item from the table.
So moved.
So moved.
Motion and a second. All those in favor removing item 13J from the table say aye.
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 All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion passes. Item is removed from the table. This item reads CRA Board discussion and consideration of Executive Director's annual performance review for fiscal year 2022 through 23.
And Board Chair, if you don't mind, I'll introduce this item.
I figured you would. Yes,
Okay,
thank you, Council.
So last year on September 14th, this board officially converted Ms. Shutt from the interim executive director to the full-time executive director and offered her a contract for that position, which she accepted, as you can see. And although she serves at the pleasure of the board, meaning that her contract is not about to expire, she is entitled to an annual review. And at that time, if the board considers it appropriate, to change her salary, that is also the time to discuss that with this board. So there's a contract amendment contained in your package that Ms. Shutt has previously reviewed. If this board were to decide to create a contract amendment, there's a blank there in case there is a desire to adjust the salary. And there's also some change language in there that just gives a little more flexibility to the date of Ms. Shutt's review, because we've moved it around and she's consented to that, but this would just allow that to happen without formal consent and contract. And I know that Ms. Shutt has also sent you all a review form that you had the discretion as to whether to fill out or not. Her review may also be given orally. So at this point, I'll leave it to you all to review Ms. Shutt, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'm sure she is as well.
All right, thank you, Council, for that introduction. I'll begin by saying, in terms of her performance review, that I'm very pleased to have Twee Shutt as our Executive Director. In the time that I've known her, she's extremely hardworking. I'm in this building at late hours on weekends, and I see her likewise. And so I know that she is giving her heart and soul into the job. And for that, I'm very proud to have her on the team. I do think it is time for her to receive a commensurate pay bump. But before I address that, I'd just like to hear from my other colleagues first on their performance review of our executive director. Board Member Hay, would you like to begin?
Sure. I too agree with what you stated. I've worked with Tweet quite a bit, and she's always cooperative, knowledgeable, and willing to go over and beyond Call of Duty as far as I'm concerned. She even got me to go down in a hot sun to stand up and to see a project. Those are the kinds of things that I look for in an executive director in terms of showing us what other cities are doing. As I look at the sheet that was handed out, she's almost at the bottom, but yet look at what the number of acres, the number of people that she on her staff. They're all somewhat out of line. So with that, I do agree that we need to give her a bump in salary. But I reserve the rest of my comments until I hear from my other colleagues.
All right, Board Member Turkin.
Twee, you're awesome. Very informative. You are able to articulate things for me so I can understand them, because this is very new to me. And so I appreciate that. When we do our agenda reviews, you do it in an efficient manner. You lay out all options. And I think Commissioner or Board Member Hay mentioned it. You go above me and you do so much. I don't understand how you get so much done sometimes. It's like we need to highlight, copy, paste. And so I think, and one thing that stands out to me is the follow through and the follow up. Because for me, that is so important. And that's when things get missed, is when there's no follow up or follow through. And I always get that from you, always. And I think you're a wealth of knowledge. You have a lot of experience, and I think you could benefit, this transition, not just with this transition with the city. So, I think staff should definitely reach out to you, because you know a lot. And I can see that you care, and your problem solving skills are amazing. You deserve more than what you put in, because you put in a lot. So thank you for everything you do. And, I'm really glad to have you in that role. Tim, you're awesome too. And the whole CRA staff. So I think, we need to look into not just you, Twee, but the whole staff, because you guys rock. Not to take away from the city. The city's awesome. The city staff is awesome, but you guys rock and roll, and I appreciate y'all every day. I know it's hard, with a limited budget to do everything, but just know you guys appreciate it.
Board Member Kelly.
I agree with my colleagues that the CRA and the city is, we know we're in good hands, and we know that we have somebody who's fighting for the residents and for us. And, we've seen you in, in recent projects that you fight and you don't give up, and you work very hard to make sure that that the residents are taken care of and are looked out for, and that we all look good. And so I thank you for having that, that commitment to the city and stepping up. When Mike left, that you stepped into this role, and you owned it, and you've it suits you, and I feel like it's where you should be. And so that's my position, and I'm very happy to support my colleagues in whatever we decide as far as her any annual increase in salary.
Vice Chair Cruz, your
Thank
evaluation.
you. Last but not least, thank you. I wanted to say, Ms. Shad, thank you so much for your leadership. It's been a real pleasure working with you. I've met you many, many years ago when I was on the CRA advisory board. You're a leader. You always have the information we need. You're always there ready to stand up for the CRA to do what's right, even if it's not the popular thing to do, and I commend you for that. And you always stand up for your staff. You support them. You seek for ways to make their life at work better, to make sure they get their raises, and I think that's commendable in a leader. So I want to thank you. I want to let you know it's a pleasure to work with you, and you're exactly where you belong.
Thank you. I just want to, again, thank my staff, because when I was doing the summary, we did this with 30% less staff. If you remember, we had Bonnie on maternity leave. We had Vicky just coming on, learning as a temp. We cut out a position for events because we didn't have any events in the pandemic. And Mercedes and Renee and we all chip in. Any of the events, were in there. So I could not do without them. Also, Tim, we stole him from his previous employee here.
Gladly.
Yes, and we're hoping, with his skill set and his experience, we all could learn as well. From an engineering point of view, we can actually have in-house experience when we negotiate things, scope of work and everything, and work with the city and help supplement their staff when needed. So I think Mike had built a good team, and I'm just following through, and I hope that they will bear with me at certain times, and you all as well. Please don't wait till next year. If you have any comments I've expressed to most of you as I talk to you, let me know if I'm doing something that's, not where the direction. If you have any, you can tell me anytime, and it's better to know ahead and improve. We always can improve. So thank you very much for your confidence in me.
Board Member Turpin, did you want to add anything?
Nope. Thank you again. The one thing I did want to add was, how, and this is just for my knowledge, pardon my ignorance. How do we go about, because I'm going to say this because it's important for me to have this review as far as compensation goes with you. How do we go about our raises with the CRA staff? What does that look like? Is that in this before the next fiscal year? What does that process look like?
So you will be looking at that as part of your budget, and it's in the general fund. Vicky will give you more information. We are mirroring the city for the 6% to keep up with the cost of living. Unlike the city, we don't have a pension. We do have, the ICMA. We have the 401 and 450. Vicky, help me out, 51. So the retirement, we do have some, but we don't have the pension. Likewise, last year, our staff was out meeting with residents, meeting with businesses, but we were not privy to the COVID bonuses or any of because we're not city staff. So there are certain things that we do mirror, but we're looking at the 6%. Normally, you would do a 3% cost of living or consumer price index. Because of the rapid rise in a lot of the cost, fuel, food, we would like to also have that as well. And then we have our performance review, but those are all just based on performance, and that's not a given. But I would like, and it's included in our budget, to have the 6% similar to the city. Most of the other cities are looking at 5 or 6 as well. Private sector is a different thing. They're probably able to offer more, but that's aligned with all the staff as well.
I'll begin by saying that I'm comfortable with the 6%. All right, just to initiate this discussion.
What was that?
I'm comfortable with the 6% raise.
Question?
Yes. Vice Chair?
I'm sorry, this wasn't directly for Tweet. It was just a general question. Is it a 6% raise and a 5% COLA, like cost of living adjustment?
No, it's a 6% COLA and it's a merit, and so everybody gets reviewed based on merit. So the it's not it's actually, consumer price index.
Cost of living, yeah.
So the cost of living would be 6%, which would be the same as a city, but that we usually have a performance review for everybody individually. So
And so that would vary.
that would vary.
Right.
Board member? Yeah.
No, I seem to recall we talked about this in July and I thought, I don't have any objection and I am supportive of staff. I think they just like TWE, they go above and beyond and work very hard for the city and for the residents. And so I'm in support of it. I just thought we had already talked about it and that was the direction that we had given, but I'm fine. I was confused as to the need for the discussion, but I'm fine.
All right. Any other thoughts from my colleagues? Board member Hay?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with the 6 right now. As I look at the numbers, she's in like 4th position as far as salary is concerned. With this increase, it would bring up to 3rd, and we are the 3rd largest municipality, so it goes hand in glove. It's the logical thing to do. So I'm definitely with the 6. Well, I would have asked a question. What did the regular what did staff get as far as an increase? Did they get anything?
The staff under this budget is getting the 6% cost of living.
Then I so move that, if I may be in order.
Of course, I will entertain the motion.
I so move that we bump our executive director Tweet Shutt by 6%.
All right, Counselor, is that sufficient?
If I could also have the direction to change the contract language to be more flexible in terms of the date of her review. Because right now there's a date certain in her contract and we'd just like to make it to be sometime before August so that it can be scheduled as the board sees appropriate.
Okay.
So
Right now,
And that's in the
May.
contract amendment before you.
Yeah, so.
So why don't you state it for me and I'll say that's my motion.
Okay, and I'll change the correct date. All right, so perhaps you would like to make a motion to increase the executive director's salary by 6% and enact the recommended contract changes concerning the date of the executive director review and allow for any other, subject to final legal review, a final cleanup.
I would certainly like to do that. That's my motion.
We have a motion before us. Is there a second?
Twee, do you feel that's fair?
I am just grateful to serve you guys, so.
Okay,
All
we
right.
have a second.
That's all I gotta say.
All right, we have a second from Board Member Turkin. Is there any public comment on this item? Is there anybody online, Ms. Kerfman? Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it and the motion passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you for your support.
All right, let me put this away. We're going to move on.
Okay.
Next item, consideration and discussion of fiscal year 2022-2023 project fund budget. Ms. Hill.
Vicky Hill for the record again. All right, we are so excited to get this over with. 22-23.
I wonder why.
Vicky, you ready for me? So what we had last month there was some changes. Let me tell you what they were. Okay, so our accounting and finance manager, that's Jabbar Jenkins, she completed a cash analysis, and we were able to add into, as a fund balance surplus, $500,000. So that was on the first page. So now our total revenue is 20.5. And everything is the same pretty much.
I'm sorry, just to be
Yes, sir.
clear, I want to make sure I understood what you said. Your further analysis yielded how much?
500,000. The cash. Yeah,
500,000.
a cash analysis. Yes, sir.
Excellent.
So we added that into the budget. And of course, we still have our debt service, operating expenses, the marina. We have our TURFA. But what the remaining budget for allocation is 6.2 million. So if you go to the second page for me, Vicki. Yes, the project fund. Now, before you had a balance there, but I wanted to go ahead and allocate everything somewhere, and then you let me know if you want any changes made, if that's fair. Okay. I went ahead. You won't see the monies for MLK Jr. The 2 million that was there before. I had to put it on a purchase order because they started to have bills, invoices come in, and I wasn't sure if I can't pay anything from the project fund until after October 1. So I had to put that on a purchase order. So you see that is missing. So here we go. We have for the MLK streetscape, I put $200,000 there. We still have the $385,000 for Cottage District that we may or may not need.
Could we clarify on that? Why may need? I mean, they already said they don't need that money. So what are the other uses, Executive Director?
Well, the city is looking for some grants for drainage. And if there's a local match that's required, if the city doesn't have the funds to do that, we could utilize this because the Cottage District has the same drainage basin as whatever the study that would be for the Heart of Boynton. That's the biggest thing that prevents redevelopment is the necessary drainage that you would need to have. Like, as you see in Cottage District, you have to have a huge area to contain and treat the water before you haul it out.
Just for clarity, is Pulte not covering that?
This is an area-wide drainage grant.
Area-wide, so it's not limited to their
It's
site.
not just this, but because because Cottage District, we have allocated for infrastructure external to the development because the previous developers didn't have the necessary funds to do so. You can always reallocate this in your mid-year budget process. Around January is when after our audit, we normally would do what we call the true up. So you can always reallocate this to another budget item that's needed. So this is not set in stone by any means. But you can take some of it off as well for the 210,000 that you're looking for MLK tenant space. You can take some of that from here or any other items.
Just holding its place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's holding its place just in case you need, a
Rainy
local
day.
match or a grant or any kind of other funding for area-wide stormwater.
All right, Ms. Hill, thank you.
All right. So then we have $410,000 for Cherry Hill. I did put in, I heard you the last time for the future grocery store for District 2. So we put $200,000 in there for that.
Ms. Hill, 1 second. Since you just mentioned the Cherry Hill item, could we get an update from the Executive Director on that while it's fresh and we're on the topic?
Yes, so we were informed by the attorney for the Bells that they have an executed contract for the Cherry Hill Mart. They have received their deposit. The closing day is November 15th of this year. There's a finance contingency. So it's really Staff felt that it's board's discretion if you want to move the money over. But since the closing won't be until November, just in case for that small chance that it falls through, we don't have to rob from another line item.
Understood. I just want to make sure that the
Yeah.
whole board is aware of this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right.
We wanted to be able to swoop right in just in
Yeah.
case.
I
Right.
definitely want to keep that money
Okay.
where it is and allocated for that, just in case.
Just in case.
All right.
We already had a little over 1 million for the Boynton Beach Streetscape Improvement Project, and we're adding $409,420, which would make it an even 1.5, which we need. In acquisition for the 217, which is the post office, which is supposed to close February 2023, we have 770,000. With the ILA that we have for the city for the Historic Women's Club, Boynton Beach, we have 250,000 there. Property acquisition, we have 1.8 rolling. We're adding $981,904, which is going to be 2.78 million that we're going to put in property acquisition. We're assisting the city with JC Park, and we have $250,000 allocated for that.
Is this the dog park? Is that what
Yes.
this is?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
just want to make sure.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, NOP, it looks like we are going to be up and running again. So we budgeted what they asked us to budget. So we took 200,000 that they did not use this year. We're rolling that and we're adding $297,646, which is going to be $497,646, what they asked for.
Ms. Hill, they asked for 497?
Yes, sir.
There's an exhibit, if Vicky, if you can scroll down several pages down, it will say what those allocations are for.
I'm just curious if that was an increase. Is that the same amount in a prior?
It's actually less than it
It's
was.
less?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. It's less than it was for this year.
For the same number of people?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Moving right along, we have a marina seawall, $500,000 for that. For our economic redevelopment grants, we have we're rolling $40,558 and $58,000, and we're adding $600,000. $300,000 we're going to allocate for the 7 bays, and then we have that. So we'll have $640,558 for that, for the economic development grants. Commercial exterior improvements, we have $500,000 there. Business promotions and events, we're rolling $175,158. We're adding $300,000, and we're going to have the ending balance is going to be $475,158.
So if we could also go to the last page while we're at this for the events, there's a couple of board direction we'd like to have. And as you can see, Pirate Fest, our share is in there. It's budgeted for 85,000. But go ahead, Vicki, if you want to, when you finish, I'll mention what needs to be.
Okay.
decided.
Well, while you're on there now, I mean, we can stop just so that you know. We wanted to make sure that the date change, you knew about that for the Rock the Marina is updated to November 5th. I believe it was October 22nd before. And that is to accommodate the fishing charters. And then we have for March 11th, we need to know if you want it to be a Blarney Bash or Rock the Block.
So we'll need to have you decide, give direction on one or the other. And just for what Vicky said, the Rock the Marina, it's going to be instead of being in the May where we are always subject to the weather. We had said if we didn't do Pirate Fest this year, we'll do. That's one of our very popular events. But also, instead of doing the Lionfish Derby, we're looking to do a fishing event for the fishing charters. Right now, the reason we had to change because some of the charter, we normally assist in booking and paying for some of those. Right now, we have 30 spots open. We would have more. We could possibly have up to about 70, but the sea mist is being dry docked. They're maintenance, so they don't know for sure if they'll be able to participate. But so we reoriented hearing what you had wanted to do to really open up more than just diving. You know, we're doing the fishing, but it's not going to be a tournament. It's going to be a fishing, trip. Because with the tournament, you have to do specific things. You have to pick the fish because those are judged and sized, and there's more to that than that. So we're looking at opportunities just to make people aware of what entertainment and things that are out there in our marina. So it's a promotional for those charters. And I think there's going to be about four or five, Renee, fishing charters that we're going to be promoting as part of this.
Awesome.
I love that idea.
Awesome. On Blarney Bash, so, and was it Rock the Block?
Yes, sir. One or the other. So we just need to.
So I've gotten a lot of feedback about, unfortunately, Pirate Fest not happening. And, a lot of families have said to me, is Blarney Bash still going to happen? And so my position would be to make sure, we at least, because that's the second, I think, largest event that we have here, to make sure that we get Blarney Bash done.
Blarney.
I support that.
I support that.
Board member.
I agree. And that's something Twee, when you and I talked on Friday and you threw that around. If anything, it's the name. You can change different features of the event, but it's like the signature names. It became Blarney Bash and it's stuck, and now people know it as that. So even if you did it like a Rock the Block style, but it was Blarney Bash is what people come for. So we can't, those little signature names, those, cute names that have grown over the years, that's what people are coming for. That's how they know it. And I think we're known for Blarney Bash. We're known for Pirate Fest. Those are names and titles of events that we can't lose. So, that's my position. Blarney Bash is a must in my opinion. So something we go to every year. So.
Note, it's going to be the week before the other St. Patty's Day celebration so that we don't compete with all the services that we had problems trying to retain,
Yes. And I'm fine. I mean, I'm fine with that.
As long as it's in March, we can still promote.
Right.
Yeah.
It's close enough. 6 days is close enough.
Vice Chair.
I agree as well.
Okay, Blarney Bash it is. Okay. Anything else on this particular page?
Not for the events, no.
Okay, excellent. Ms. Hill, if you could proceed.
Okay, where did we end here? Then we have business promotional marketing. We are rolling over 47,000, adding 98,000, so we have $145,000 for that. Site work, demolition, and environmental, we're rolling $61,236. We're adding 125,000, and the end total is 186,236. Professional development services, we're rolling 174,000. We're adding 100,000. So the ending balance on that will be 274,841. Our legal services, we're adding in 175,000 for that. And for our contingency, we're rolling 90,000, adding 50 to that, and we're going to end that with $140,000. And that is our project fund budget. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Thank you. Anything from my colleagues? We kind of asked our questions along the way. The only final comment I'll make is that I know we put aside 200,000 for the grocery store. I think that, as we hear more from Pulte, as we hear more from the Cherry Hill Mart, there are possibilities here to increase funding for that. However, I recognize, as Executive Director mentioned earlier, that we will be revisiting the budget in January. So this is fine for me for now, but it's a commitment that I want to pour more funding into down the road.
And I support that, Mayor. I was going to bring that up.
Thank you, board members.
Because, and I think for me, a part of keeping these line items here is when we review again, we got it.
Yeah.
We got it, and then we can
Right.
reassess. So that's top of my list.
Excellent. Thank you,
Could
guys.
I
Yes.
ask where you would like to have the 210,000 for MLK?
Let's put it at the grocery store.
Yeah, where would you take it from? Because I think you need to allocate the 210,000 now, or you can wait, but I would rather have it
So-
up now.
So what you're saying is we need to pull it out of one of these line items
Yes, I
for
know.
now,
Yes, sir.
while we reshuffle the other sources.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So I would say which of these are not time sensitive, because the businesses are moving forward, but some of these things are sitting here for a future project.
So I would recommend from acquisition, and we can replenish it if we don't have the 410,000 from Cherry Hill Mart. We can always, during the mid-year, put 210,000 back.
All right, so I'm comfortable with that if you take it out of acquisition. And so my question is, that we'll take it from acquisition to fund it immediately. Where will these other, the previous funding sources, where will that fall into?
For the project, you mean for the Heart of
Yeah,
Oak
so
Village?
for example, the owner's contingency amount, the CRA amount, and the centennial amount for
So the
community
80, yeah.
space, where will that be dropped into the budget?
This 87,000 is already in the budget for that as owner's contingency. The 2 million is part of
Okay.
the 2 million.
It's already
The
purchased.
65,000, we will bring it back. It's already been PO'd, but we'll bring it back as part of the development agreement amendment. So you can also reallocate that to this project if needed. And then obviously Centennial's 50,000. So that completes I'm sorry. The 30,000 is the 210. So 30 times 7 would be your 210,000 that you're allocating now from the acquisition line item.
So as those come in, we'll put them where they.
Yes, so you really will only need to reallocate the 65,000 if you do the 2,000 now as part of the budget.
So we can allocate that 210,000 from acquisitions, and then take that 65,000. We'll get back and put it into grocery store.
Well,
But I'm confused.
No,
here.
it sounds like this is separate from the grocery
separate.
store.
Okay.
The grocery store is going to stay at 200,000.
Right. But
What I understand, board member, is, and feel free to correct me, is that in order to act quickly on the tenants,
sure.
just take it out of acquisitions right now, because
Right.
it's just less complicated. There's already money there sitting for acquisitions. Take care of the businesses. In the meantime, they're going to do the behind the scenes work to bring the other funds back into
Got
this
it.
budget.
Got it.
Yeah, so you could actually even, if you want to, you can probably put it under the second line item, Vicky, correct? Put the 210 there for tenant, and we know that's gonna be for tenant.
Oh, absolutely. It'll stay in acquisition, but I will put it that it is
As a
for the
heading, yeah.
tenants. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what
Okay,
we'll do.
all right, I have clarity. Anything else from my colleagues? All right, that concludes it for me.
Great job.
Thank you so much for your hard work.
I appreciate you, but the next thing that's on the
Yes, we're gonna do the next thing. Okay. We're not done yet, guys. We have the actual resolution to approve the budget.
Yes.
All right, so before we entertain that, are there any public comments on the budget and the resolution approving the budget? Seeing no one in the chambers, is there anybody online, Ms. Kerfman?
No hands raised.
All right, so this is item L, consideration of resolution number R22-02, adopting the CRA budget for fiscal year 22-23. Any comments, anything else final? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve that resolution.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The motion passes unanimously. The resolution
So
is
much.
approved. Thank
I
you.
appreciate you.
We appreciate you.
Good job.
Okay, we've already handled 14A and we've handled 14C. So now let's address 14B, discussion and consideration of the purchase of 321 East Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard.
I thought that was taken off.
No, it was 14D that was taken
Oh,
out.
14B.
Next.
Gotcha.
This item is before you, as mentioned previously, there has been direction to reactivate this corridor and provide more wealth building as well as ownership opportunities in the form of either townhouses, new businesses, location, and getting land position for the eastern portion now that the Heart of Boynton Village is underway. And those are all rental units. So as part of our plan for land assemblages, we've been actively looking for voluntary sales of these lots. We were approached by the property owner, the Claytons. The red rectangle is the property in question. The yellow rectangles are the project or the properties that the CRA currently owns. So this property is appraised at $210,000. The owner would like to have $310,000 as their asking price. That is above what staff is able to do under negotiation. So we're coming for the board to get direction on this.
I would agree. 310 and it's appraised at 210.
Yes, 330 is
Okay.
what.
I would not want to do that, even though the proximity of what happened of the property is contiguous. And I think that's a goal that we ought to have as the CRA to try to get property that's right around property that we already own. But I would not want to go $100,000 over what's appraised. So we need to come up with a counter offer, what we would do. I don't know, maybe 225, 230. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
I like your style, board
Yeah,
member.
I love your style. We're
right.
at 210 now. It's appraised at 210.
Yes, appraised at 210, asking
10.
330.
I'll be willing to go
Asking
a little
330,
above appraisal value
Yeah.
because, but not $100,000.
Yeah, I like 235, 240.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right, 235.
235.
No, it didn't
Board
say
member-
240. It said 235.
Or you said, or two, okay, whatever. That's fine. Board member Kelly.
I am kind of indifferent on this. I feel like, we need to get these properties, but at the same time, we can't go broke buying these properties. So, especially since this is the property that we're going to end up likely demolishing whatever is on it. I agree with my colleagues that we can't break the bank on, we're not buying this as a place to live. So I agree. I support whatever the majority is. I'm fine with that.
If I may also, typically, we usually as a practice, usually tell the board that the board has approved it over like 20% above. So just to let you know, 20% above would take it to 252, just as an FYI. It's up to you how you want to allocate the counter offer.
So you're saying normally it's 20%?
I'm just saying that typically the board, that was the gauge on an average to go 20% above appraised. So that would be 252. So
Of course.
but you don't have to.
Yeah, but I
but
don't
you
want to
Exactly.
start that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not set in stone, guys.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yes.
It's not a policy. It's
Right.
not anything. It's just,
Yeah.
typically those are the numbers.
I stick with the 235.
I concur.
All right, Vice Chair Cruz.
I find it interesting that we're making these numbers up, but I definitely don't want to go much above appraised value, especially now that the real estate market appears to be cooling down a bit. If it was maybe a few months ago, maybe a year ago. And I agree with Commissioner Kelly, if we're going to demolish this, there's no reason for us to overpay.
I concur. I don't want to overpay. We are not people's piggy bank. We are just trying to help the neighborhood out in terms of redevelopment. So I'll support my colleagues with 235. If there's nothing else, is there any public comments on this item? Seeing none in the chambers, is there anybody online, Ms. Kerfman?
No hands raised.
All right. Public comments are closed. Board Member Hay, I believe you were the one who initiated that. Would you like to make the motion to give direction to staff to counter at 235?
Absolutely. I so moved to that we counter at 235,000.
All right. We have a second from Board Member Turkin. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those who oppose say no. The ayes have it. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, so that concludes 14B, and that concludes all of 14. We're going to move on to 15, CRA projects in progress. Now, of these three items, I'd like to ask my colleagues, which of these three would you like to hear from staff? Because if none, then we're done, or maybe just one of the three.
Board Chair, you've already taken.
Oh, we've already done C. That's right.
15C, so it's just the other two.
All right, so A and B. Would you like to hear either, both, or none? Would you like to begin, board member?
I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm
Okay,
I'm okay.
all right. Hearing no request, we're gonna move on. Any final comments for the evening? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
No, I just want to thank CRA staff again for everything y'all do.
All right.
Yeah.
This was board member comments, final closing comments. However, you have no competition for public comments, so if you would like to say something.
Come on up.
No, seriously, it's fine.
No.
Come on up.
He's probably listening.
I want to commend the CRA staff. I've been around a long time. Actually, before the CRA, Woodrow was serving on the Planning and Development Board for 8 years. Believe it or not, I never went to a meeting. Not one.
Not one.
When he ran, became commissioner, I came just to visit that night. I haven't left yet. The CRA board, I believe Lisa Bright was the first executive director, and Vivian
Brooks
was her assistant. Lisa Bright left. Vivian took over the reins. Seamless. After Vivian left, Mike came along. Seamless. After Mike, we had Tweet. Now, I have a problem with the spelling of your name and pronouncing it. I used to stutter as I was growing up, and I learned words that I could use that would not make me stutter. So I got real good with pronouncing things and phonics, but not with you. Anyway, I appreciate your knowledge. And as I named all of those people, and Vicky came after Susan. There was someone before Susan, I don't remember her name. Seamless. You have information, you have knowledge, you have experience, tons of training. That's what you need when you are over the CRA board and city manager. I just can't help it. I am very confident in this group of people and this staff. I don't know you yet, Tim. But as you can see, I know the names of the people. I was here. I listened. All this time I've been involved. I'm not capable of being CRA director just because I was present. I know the people. They know what they're doing. They do it well. We should not leave our city vulnerable. But I really appreciate all of your work and all of your effort because I live here since 1969, the last day of the year. We stayed in our house the first time. Did not know how good that was until we tried to file for homestead exemption. The man said you can claim it the whole year. Hallelujah. Ignorance is not bliss, but it did reward us. Please, let's continue to do what you know how to do for this city. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hay. If there's nothing else, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Have a great night, everybody, and thank you again to everyone who came today.